Richard Burns Valli Podcast. In English! Easygoing RBR talk with honest opinions. Topical races, topics and quests. Welcome.
Yep, welcome after a really long break. It's 8 months since the last time, and for sure it was not planned, this kind of long break, but it just happened. But now we are back, and because of that too long break we have amazing amount of things to talk about, so for sure we cannot go through all the things that has happened, all the mods, updates, races, no. This evening we try to pick up some highlights during the year, what comes to the Richard Burns Rally, what has happened on mods, updates and races. And because there's so much of everything, it may be that we also forgot something, so feel free to tell on the chat if there's something we are going to miss, so we can pick up that as well. Tonight, with me on the studio, I have Mr. Arek. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
And Ignas Augustonis as well.
Good evening, everyone.
And yeah, there's no more to say at the beginning now. Let's just start the thing, and we start to talk about the mods and updates. What has happened on this year, and especially after our first episode during the last 8 months. NGP 7 was something that came up on the summer, and something that sounded really amazing. It was a big news, and at least I was really interested in to find out what it was. So maybe we start to talk about that and the first impressions that you have and the first feelings do you remember when you read and try it, the NGP 7, New Generation Physics version 7 at the first time.
So actually, my first test was with SumuCube 2-wheel, and yeah, it was something really amazing. Actually, the feedback was so much improved, and yeah, I was actually more comfortable with, and already felt that I have more confidence with the car. So yeah, it was really good. The first impressions were really good, actually.
Okay. How about Arek?
Yeah, it's the same for me. I also own a SimuCube sport wheel, direct drive wheel, and I guess it has a very. I mean, you feel it even more if you have a direct drive wheel, especially all the bumps and the resolution from the surface. You can feel it in the force feedback that it's a lot better. You get a lot more feedback, and it definitely improves the reliability in driving.
Yeah, and well, I don't have a direct drive wheel. I have the Thrustmaster T500, but there still was a big difference. I remember first I have no idea what is the NGP 7, then I check and read a little bit, and then I went to testing, and it was a lot smoother, the feeling of the whole car, how the body of the car is moving, and you can both feel it and see it from the replays as well. And especially where I find it was some extreme situation with the car, when there's really fast compressions on the jumps or that kind of on the dip of the roads, where the suspension is compressing really hard, where the car is or suspension is bottoming out. On those situations, for me, the difference was the most clear. And somehow I felt that there is maybe a little bit more grip, but then I wasn't sure if there is just a little bit more grip because the suspension is behaving more smoothly. Maybe it's keeping the tires more on the ground all the time or something like that. But I already improved my PTP stage times a little bit with NCP7 compared to NCP6, so that's why I thought that there's a little bit more grip as well. And then I was able to feel a little better the grip from the steering wheel, like what there's happening on the front tires. It was more easy to feel and understand when you have the grip when you turn the wheels and when you don't have the grip. Like with the NCP6, it was more seeing what will happen when I turn the steering wheel, if it's going to turn the car or if it's going to understeer. But with the NCP7, I was able to feel it better before actually seeing what will happen. So those were my first memories that I remember from the NCP7 tests. And
I have some similar impressions. Now, of course, this is quite subjective, so it's quite difficult to sum it up properly. But what I can say now, after some months, that it definitely improved the consistency in my driving. Like especially in hairpins or other tight corners with the rear-wheel drive cars. It's like you said, it's easier to control the car when something goes wrong. So this is definitely a huge improvement.
Yeah, I also remember that my times improved immediately. So it was also a new thing for me. So
yeah,
yeah.
it's just it's difficult to know if the times are a bit better because there is more grip or because it's just more easier to drive on the limit.
Yeah.
I guess because it's more easier to drive on the limit. But yeah, below improvements on the times as well. And then I remember some comments when it came that it should be easier to feel and react on the situation when you are going to lose the grip. It's more easy, for example, control the car on the hairpins without spinning. It's like it wouldn't be so on-off the loss of the grip than with the NCP6. But I cannot remember myself, was I feeling that kind of things so clearly or not, but I just remember that kind of comments.
And besides the subjective feeling in the driving, the higher sampling rate of the physics has also some other pros. On the one hand, the telemetry data has a much higher resolution now. So if you want to analyze the telemetry data, you can do much better analysis of the suspension. And also the replays are a lot smoother. The frequency of the replay, especially of the vehicle movement, is now a lot higher. So if you do some slow motion, you will see that it also is a lot better than with NGP6.
I guess it was you who did the replay, the video from the was the Biscupais jump.
Yes.
So it's a lot better looking, and the change was quite big. I cannot remember now what was the previous physics update rate, but now with the NCP7 it's 720.
I think it was 144.
Yeah, it was something like at 100 and something. So it's
100 something.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, those are just basically numbers. I don't understand actually what there is happening so much, but I can understand that the change is quite huge from 100 something to 700 something. So it's a really big thing. And then one thing I was already thinking when I saw the change was that maybe this allows something really nice in the future as well. Like now the physics update rate is updated to that, and maybe that is allowing something that we don't even know at the moment in the future. I don't know.
Cobblestone. Cobblestone. Like the new materials that now are also possible, because with the low sampling frequency, you have not enough resolution to make these kinds of surfaces feel properly, because like if you have 100 hertz, then you drive, like for example 100 kilometers per hour, then the like say the best resolution from the surface you get is like some centimeters, I don't know.
Yeah.
And with the higher frequency, you can have much higher resolution from the surface. So cobblestone is definitely something that will be really nice with the NGP7.
Well, that's already something. I didn't know that when the NGP7 came, but I was just thinking that maybe this is somehow now making new nice things possible in the future, and who knows, whatever there will be, at least I don't know. So it's interesting point also with the NGP7.
But there are also some things that also changed, but this is just for information. The replay size is a lot higher. Now, average replay is like about 3 megabyte or something. And of course, if you collect the telemetry data, the telemetry files can be really high if you enable all of the different channels and you record the data in highest resolution, then the telemetry files can be several hundred megabytes in size, so that's a lot.
Yeah, and also one negative thing I remember really early when the NGP7 came, that especially the PTP format stages, there was some FVS problem with many people, and it was like a sad side of the NGP7, especially on when we are talking about the Rally Sim-Fan plugin, because there's a lot of PTP stages, and especially when there's a Finnish driver talking about this, because we are driving a lot of the PTP stages. So it was sad on that time that, for example, for me with my computer, the Ounin pohja was no go anymore, basically. And still on this day, for example, we lost the Finnish championship. Richard Bönsalli, guy Tommy Mäkinen, who won the championships, he was not able to stream because the stages were not running so well anymore with the NGP7. So there was also a negative side of that, but there was later, we are going to talk about those really soon, improvements to that situation for sure.
Yeah, the one of the biggest improvements by far is like we said in the beginning, like if you have a direct drive wheel, you really feel a big difference. I really don't know how it is with a normal wheel. How much of a difference you feel in the force feedback, but with the direct drive wheel, you really feel the better resolution.
Yeah, maybe
I was able even to feel the difference with Logitech the G29 wheel also.
Yeah, I believe it's, people can feel it also with not so good steering wheels. And in case there's someone on the chat who still remember the first feelings, who doesn't have the most expensive one steering wheel, you can comment as well what you remember. But for sure, at least, and me also, with the Trustmaster T500, I was able to feel the difference, all the differences. So, but I didn't. When the NGP7 came, I already instantly started to drive with that, but I didn't came back to NGP6 anymore. So it would make things even more clear, if I would changing from NGP7 to NGP6 to NGP7 to NGP6 few times to really make sure the differences. But on the other hand, I was just interested in and happy about the NGP7, so I didn't figure out how to even do that. There's Gabriel Sim commenting on the chat that he didn't feel anything. But also, he says that most likely would spot some differences now if go back to NCP6, and yeah, it would be actually quite nice to try the NCP6, or maybe even some older NCP versions, just to remember how the things were.
Yeah. And also you have to remember that the higher sampling rate does not change the physics. It just makes them more accurate and sharper.
Yeah, and like a little bit more information all the time that you can get through the steering wheel.
Yeah.
There was some other information as well. What changed with the NCP7? Increased accuracy of calculations, at least for me. I don't know like what this actually means. What are the differences?
What we just talked about, like if you have higher sampling rate, the overall accuracy of your physical model gets better automatically. I think this is what be mentioned here.
Okay, well maybe it's that would make sense as at least. Then there was some some issues with related to high screen refresh rates. Again, something I don't know. I didn't have those issues, and difficult to say, but it's always good to hear that there is some fixes to something that has problems. And then fixed calculation of surface bumpiness when using material blending. Again, something too much for me, but do you know something more?
Joonas, just one thing about the screen fixes. There's one thing I would like to mention. I just recently figured out, because one guy from the director's cut users, he did some recording, and some of the skid marks were somehow broken on his replay.
Okay.
It looked a little bit weird, and then we figured out it comes from his high screen, because he also used a high frequency monitor. And if something like this happens, and for example you want to do some recording, you just have to reduce the refresh rate of your monitor, and it should be better. But it's still there, and it's quite difficult, I guess, to figure out where that comes from. But something with the skid marks is broken with the high refresh rates on the monitors.
Okay. So it's not like everything is not fixed still. What comes to that? But yeah,
basically it's just relevant for replays. So
yeah, it's
not
not
so
a really
important
big
for
deal.
driving.
Yeah. Did you have any knowledge about the next thing, fixed calculation of surface bumpiness when using material blending? Because for me, again, this is like something that I'm not expert at all.
Oh.
Okay.
I think it's the question for Worker B.
But then something we can understand really well is new material, black ice. That's interesting, especially on the rallies like Monte Carlo, which is really known that kind of rally where black ice happens. So that was new thing, an interesting thing. But I have to say, at the moment I don't have a lot of just experience of that still. So difficult to say a lot, but it's interesting thing to have, an interesting possibility to have on the stages.
And cobblestone.
But yeah,
Cobblestone will also be there.
That is something already mentioned, but yeah, a little bit new things on that side as well. There's some information from the Tom on the chat. Blending is something enabled by the Blender add-on. The material bumpiness was not being calculated correctly when there was a mix of surfaces. Okay. Some little more information about that as well. But yeah, NCP7 was the first thing, the first highlight we was our plan to talk about. Do you have any other things you want to say about this? Or should we move on?
I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Workerbee for giving
of
us
course.
such an amazing update. It's impressive how much he do all of the engineering and the reverse engineering to make this possible for such an old a simulation. So big thanks. I think it's highly appreciated by all the people, and it's a really nice update.
Yeah, and we have to remember that 1 year ago there was a huge amount of new cars. And just after that we got the NCP7, so there's quite a lot of work done from the B for sure. Then, as I said, there was those FPS problems with the NCP7, but especially with the BTP format stages. But the second update we are going to highlight now is the BTP render quality option. You can set it low or high. And it was something that helped with the FPS issues. It makes it possible, at least for me, to drive the, for example, Ounin pohja that I just mentioned, that was really bad with the NCP7. But when I put the render quality low, the FPS was back there where it should be. And then the negative side of that is that the graphics of the stage, all the road, the environment, and that kind of stuff, those are not looking really good. The change is actually quite big. And for example, if you have some stage that you know really well, you have maybe learned to look the road surface where is some ruts and holes and that kind of stuff. You maybe even know some breaking points for those. Those everything were gone. The road was just like one smooth path. So you have to give away something to get the good FPS back.
To be honest, I did not have any I did not have any issues on my side, at least. So I guess it also depends a little bit on your system. And I would look at the CPU, because I guess this most likely is the bottleneck for this kind of problems.
Yeah. Again, something I don't understand so much, but well, I just remember there was quite a lot of people, even on the Finnish community, there was some arguing like, what is the point of the whole NCP7 if it's making the game undrivable? Almost like that. But luckily now it's at least drivable again what comes to the FPS with those people. And yeah.
Yeah, this is a good point. Maybe we should talk about this, because I was also thinking a lot about this kind of things, because also for the RBR Roadbook app, maybe we'll talk about it later, some people came to me and said, why are you not making this available for Windows 7 or Windows 8, you know? Like, that's the same thing. I mean, look, all the computer components and things, they are also going forward. So I think it should not be the target of RBR to run on a system that is 20 years old or something, but we should move ahead. And of course, a higher frequency rate gives a lot higher accuracy, but it has also a downside that it probably takes more resources. But still, you have to go with the time and maybe improve your setup in the future, get a better CPU sooner or later. This for me would be better than to say, okay, we will not improve anything in RBR because we don't want to increase the resources that it needs.
That's a really good point, and I totally agree. And for example, Taapili on the chat is saying the same. And when I say that there is that kind of discussion that is the NCP7 worth of this everything, but also I remember that kind of comments from that as well, or from there as well. So I totally agree. And yeah, there's like nothing to add. That was really well said.
Also, I mean, like regarding the BTB problem, it's more related to the BTB stages than to the NGP physics. That you have these performance problems, because there are many people who also had performance issues with NGP6 or no NGP plugin. So especially the VR users, they also have the BTB problems. So I think this is also something that we can maybe discuss later. The Blender exporter, which is an amazing alternative for making stages right now.
Yeah, well, there's a good point because at the moment the BTB stages are quite important. There's a lot of those on the Rally Symphony plugin, but maybe on the future not anymore. So not maybe even such a big problem that the BTB stages are not maybe running well at the moment, because maybe in the future those are even not so important role. And yeah, well, I would like to add something, but you said it so well that I can't. Ignas, have you something opinion about this render quality low high topic?
Actually, I didn't face with this issue because, well, my setup, my screen actually is usual 60 hertz frequency. So actually, I'm using VSynths, and yeah, I had no issues with that. So even with the when the NGP7 was released, so yeah. But of course, for those guys who have not so good setups, I think it is a really good solution to solve this issue. So yeah.
Then the same thing somehow, at least on the same topic, happened to the original format stages. So there came a medium option to the render quality with the original format stages, which did improve the SPS something like 10 to 15%, but it didn't cause the stage specific texture bugs or that kind of things like the low options. So before that it was even either low or high, but now, if I remember right, and now there was a medium option as well. But with the original format stages, for me, I have never had any problems, so I don't really know a lot about this topic as well.
So actually, I can add about this. Their key stage is very known because of FPS issues, and this feature, I think, helped a little bit for to have more FPS, but still that track needs some improvement. So let's see what the future will bring. But and also there are some other tracks which were exported by Valabi program. So also this feature a little bit helped for those tracks also.
Okay, well, it's good to know. As I said, I don't have so much experience of that improvement at all. Then I guess we are done with the render quality stuff. And again, if we forget something about the important updates, just let us know on the chat, on the comments. But base car was some basically interesting new thing that it's now working on the Rally Symphony plugin. So you can get the, well, if you don't know what is the base car, they get the kind of coast car in front of you on the stages if you want. I definitely don't want, so again, I don't have an experience of this one, but I guess that people who are not like searching the extreme simulator experience from Richard Burns Rally who are more here just to gaming and have fun. So I guess this is something that they can like a lot more than I, for example.
To be honest, about the pace load feature, the pace car feature, I'm really surprised what is possible even now with RBR and the RSF guys and Mika. He's always surprising us with some new things he brings out of his pocket. I really much like the feature. I'm not using it because I have a split indicator on my dashboard. But there is one thing where I want to try it out. It's when you are driving on circuit stages, where you have different laps, like Sphinxe, for example, or some special stages, super special stages. Because the split view with SimHub doesn't work properly on these kind of roads. And this is something where I definitely want to try out the new pace car feature because there it's working. And who knows? I know that RSF is now collecting all this data. So there is some kind of database in the background where all your fastest lap times, stage times are is collected. So maybe there will be something else also in future based on this data that is collected.
Yeah, maybe. Ignas, have you actually tried the pace car?
Yeah, I have tried once, but actually I didn't like this feature. Of course, I understand why it was done, but as I'm trying to be a hardcore RBR player, so actually that pace car is disturbing me. So yeah,
So
not using this feature.
same kind of thoughts that I have. So I understand why it is there, and it's good for some people who like to use it, but I would never ever use the pace car at all.
You can also reduce the transparency of the pace car. Make it as low as possible, so it will not disturb you while driving.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. But anyway, even I see it a little bit, it's too much for me. But I'm not saying that it would be bad. I just don't like it. But yeah, luckily there was at least Ignas was tried that. And I quickly checked there's something weird happening on the chat. Okay, well, let's check. Try to behave, and if not, something will happen. And then there's more information about this time. About this thing. Pace car recordings already contain delta time comparison details also, but the Rally Sim Fun doesn't show it yet. So soon there will be that pace car delta time or only delta time or show nothing options. So that information was from Copliner, who is one of the main guys behind of everything nice of Rich and Burns Rally Sim Fun plugin.
I really have to say that would be really cool if RBR would deliver the delta time, because now it's all stored and recorded in SimHub, and there are some downsides. Like the one thing I said is with the if you have stages where you do certain laps, it's not working, it's broken, and it's only collecting the fastest time per car. But it is not considering the weather. So if it's dry or wet, it always takes the fastest time. And what would be really cool if you could collect stage time, fastest stage time for each weather. That would be really nice.
For sure. The weather is so important, and that thing that it's now done with the SimHub. So I totally agree that always when you can get like rid of some external stuff like the sim hub and make it working like with the RBR, it would be nice. It would make it more easy for the people to use it. You don't have to open the sim hub. You just can open the written virtually that you will do anyway when you go to drive a written virtually.
True. But I really have to say I highly recommend to try out SimHub. I mean, like I could not live without it. I have so many external devices that are all connected to SimHub, and I also defined some shortcuts. You have some kind of keyboard emulation. I know this is not part of this podcast, but I have the feeling that I have to promote SimHub if I can.
Well,
Because
this
it's a
is
really
not so
nice tool.
serious. You can talk a little bit off topic if you want, and that even wasn't off topic. That was related to Richard Burnshawley, so no problem at all. I have only done the dashes on the videos on SimHub, the WRC dashes. That's my like only experience from the SimHub, but I have some ideas and plans, but just never time or energy to figure things out.
I really have to say the amount of features that SimHub covers is just impressive. You know, like you can also flash external controllers like Arduino controllers directly from SimHub with a certain configuration of all the buttons and the LEDs and so on. That's really crazy. Really.
Yeah, and soon I find myself buying some big and expensive button box to use all those things. Really simple. There's a question. Do you know is there any possibility to improve graphics of the stages? Like, do you mean the question was from Magic the Killer Bee? Do you mean like if we have now a stage on the Rich and Burns Rally, that can we make the graphics of that better? A stage that is already in the game.
I think it's easier to make a new stage than just it's easier. It's just easier to make a new stage because when you are trying to change the current stages, the textures, it takes a lot of time for sure. So I recently I read somewhere about this topic. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess he was.
In my opinion, it is easier to
Yeah.
make a new stage from zero.
I guess that the point of that was just like if there's some old stage that is not looking so good, would it be possible to like update the stage, make it to look better or something like that. Then there was more information. Base car recordings contain this delta time data per dry, damp and wet surface, so all those three different surface options, what comes to the wetness of the stage, and per car, car group and stage.
Perfect. Now if this will be released, I just have to figure out how can I show it on my external devices. This will be tricky.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we get some good delta time system on the RBR, I have seen some from the SimHub how easy it is to see what is a fast way to drive and what is not. So it will make the practicing and hot lapping to another level if people start to use that.
I have to say one more time that driving with delta time is something that quickly improves your overall performance.
Yeah, because now when we think, you have some splits on the stage, and if the stage is, let's say, normal length, there is tens of corners inside of the one split. So if you are looking your times from the split, there's a lot of places where you can make a difference. But with the delta time, you can see like corner by corner, braking by braking, what is working and what is not.
Exactly.
So it's making like a lot more detailed. Of course, you can pick some big rock or tree or house or bridge yourself already on the stage. You can like split the splits even smaller sections, but that's just, it's not so, it's more random. With the delta everything is so much easier, so
Yeah, and also like you said, you can try out different things and then see how it behaves on the overall performance. And to me, it's that sometimes I'm surprised that some things are faster or slower, because sometimes you are pushing, but the times are worse, and sometimes you drive smoother and you catch a good line and you are faster. And you do not feel this. You see it. You have to see it on the data. And probably analyzing telemetry data now takes a lot of time. So the delta time is a good way to go.
Yeah, it like make this for everyone. Everyone can do it then really easily, and for sure it's really easy to say already that it will like make the let's say level of the competition higher in case people really start to use this and practice with this. Yes. They will improve both their driving, and it's really easy to see also, for example, what is working with the setup, what comes to the performance, and that kind of thing as well.
At least me, I wouldn't use this.
Huh? Why?
Because real rally cars, their dashboards don't have delta feature, so you can only compare your runs in telemetry actually, as far as I know. So yeah.
Well, that's a good point as well. There was actually a question on the chat, but is this realistic to have delta? So maybe not. Or basically, as Arek said, you can somehow figure out these things from the data, but it's just really complicated way, both in RBR and in real life. You have to done your run, then you have to somehow get the data out to some software that is showing it to you. So
yeah, but also with this thing, we are moving more to circuit racing stuff. So
and when you think generally, you can say.
I would not be so sure that this does not exist in real life, in WRC, for example. Because, okay, on the one hand, we had the split times in WRC in some years ago, right? Now, this was not delta time, but split times. But who knows if the WRC manufacturers are not using delta time during testing? Because technically, it's not a big challenge.
Well, at least I can say that I don't know. I cannot be sure if they are using this or not.
Actually, I was in one in real life test. One guy was testing R5 car, a really famous guy. So yeah, he had his own time. I know how to say time calculating system or something like this, and he was comparing his delta times. Okay, he had some splits during that stage,
and it was only R5 car.
Yeah.
Normally the things are 1 or even 2 step up when you go to the WRC or Rally 1 theme. Yeah. So maybe it's actually happening. It can be. And there was a good point again from Gopliner that it would be only available on the practice, not in the hot lap or online rallies.
Yes.
So that is good and make it somehow closer to the realism. And there was the comment that it's making RBR closer to circuit racing. But if you think already about some, let's say, normal high-level championship, it is quite close to the circuit racing. People are practicing many times the stages. They know exactly where to brake, how much the corners are turning and everything. So it is difficult to make everything really close to the real rallying. It's really close to go closer to circuit racing because people can practice so free.
Yeah, but that's also even without the delta indicator, that
Yeah.
is probably one problem we have in general.
Yeah,
But
that was like my point, that it's already quite close to the circuit racing in places.
And there are also some downsides with the delta time. Like I use the delta time also during competitions, just to check, just to compare my own performance. And sometimes it's really frustrating when I see that in rally events I'm like 10 or 20 seconds slower from my fastest time. Because like on the events you're maybe not pushing too much, or
Yeah.
you have a higher gap. You're not taking so much risk, and that's sometimes really annoying if you see how much time you lost.
And we still have the ability to use the split times on the race, so you get the information 2 times during the stage where you are compared to your practice, like your delta time. So
Are you using the split times where you also compare, where you can compare your times with the competitors?
no, I don't have the, I don't see the other drivers' times, but I have my own split times. But I have to say that I cannot focus on those. I check the time when I'm on the split, but I cannot like process in my head to understand that was that slow or not. So I'm basically getting no information about that. But yeah, it is there. I get the time, my own time on the splits.
Yeah. I also turned off the split times where I can compare with other drivers, because this was something that was irritating me.
Yeah, for sure. Once by mistake I had those on. It went something like that. I was doing the hot lapping and I tried to use the split times, and then I forget those on when I was doing rallying. And when I first saw the times, I get so confused that I did a big mistakes and ruined up the whole rally immediately. So I cannot focus on that kind of information at all. Maybe with practice it could be possible that I learn that okay, I will get the times, but at least at the moment it feels that no. And we have on the Finnish podcast there was Tommi Mäkinen and Patrick Åkerfeldt, our guests, one of the best drivers in the world in Richard Burns Rally, and at least Tommy was saying that he's not looking the times at all, the splits, not even on the practice. He's like doing the whole stage, just focusing on his driving, not the times of the others. So I don't know, but maybe someone can use it as an advantage also, but for me feels impossible.
Or you do it like François Duval when he was driving next to Sébastien Loeb at Citroën. And when he looked at the split times and he's seen that he's close to Sébastien Loeb, he always crashed.
Well, yeah.
This is the same what happened to me in RBR. Like sometimes I see the split times and I see, okay, I have some good split times, and then I'm motivating, I push even more, and then boom, few corners later it's over.
I think it's really personal. Maybe some people cannot look the splits at all, and maybe there is, a few drivers who can really look the splits, and that is not a problem for them, no matter what the splits are telling. They are faster or slower.
But at least to me, it really helped to turn off the split times, to not compare with others, because then it's really like Tommy said, you can focus much more on your own driving.
Yeah.
But the delta time, actually, I have it on all the time. It's really helpful.
There is a good comment that Tommy from Gabriel that Tommy just doesn't have anything to compare to. Sometimes he loses or always wins. So
Yeah, it may be like that. And yeah, also comments that, Arnaud, he is watching sometimes on the straight but not in the corners, but many times the splits are on the bad place, not on the long straights. And well, yeah. Then, I guess that was with the base car. I guess we have a technical issue. I can hear my voice twice through something.
I guess this is me.
Okay. Well, let's
Give me
check
1
what we
second.
can do about it. Yeah, will we wait, and when Arek is ready, we will talk about the next update or maybe more mod that came. Not so far away. Not so long time when this came. There was a thing called road book.
Test. Is it maybe it's better now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and at least I cannot hear myself twice. So
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Maybe I can tell something about it.
I guess you can, but in case you are not expert, we can ask from the chat if they know something about the road book.
Yeah. So there has been some tool released recently, a few weeks ago, named RBR Roadbook. It's an application that helps to make recce of the stages and to write pace notes. It's not a pace note plugin or whatsoever. And it's only working with the pace note plugin by Workerbee. So the tool basically is mainly to write notes, and all of the calling of the notes and and all the other things are still happening with the pace note plugin. So it's compatible to all the code drivers that are available for the pace note plugin of Workerbee. And basically there shouldn't be any issues, any compatibility issues. The first idea was like 1 year ago, I think. Joonas, you remember, because you were the first one. I've shown some first draft, what I want to achieve.
Yeah, I remember it somehow, and it was just already back then. It was like that kind of feeling that I didn't really know a lot what to say. It just sounded so amazing, and when I saw the first, you saw it with the screen share, how it's looking, even back then, it was just something. I was like not even think that something that could be possible or something that would happen. You just say something like, I would have something I want to show you, something little. And then there was that kind of little surprise.
Basically, like this year, I invested a lot of time to do certain things for RBR, like the camera tool and the RBR roadbook, and I also did beta software of the telemetry tool. But I messed it up to release all those things because I thought myself, what would be something I can do to really improve or to make something better or to solve some kind of problem. And for me, and then I asked myself, okay, what is my personal biggest problem that I have with RBR? And that was quite easy. It's the pace notes. Like I was always struggling so badly with the pace notes because like the whole process is very time consuming and sometimes also not very straightforward. So you really need a lot of time to make pace notes. And that was just a problem that I never did pace notes for RBR. And that annoyed me so much that I thought, okay, what can I do to make this better? And then I had this idea that maybe you can do it completely out of not in RBR, but completely in an external app. And then I just quickly did a first prototype, and I turned on some video in VLC player, and I just tried out if it's working, if the workflow is better, how much time I need, and then I figured out, okay, it runs it's a lot quicker. And from that time I thought, okay, I have to go for this. And then I think now it's 1 year since I started with the first prototype. And then many great things happened. It was a really nice community effort because we decided to record all the stages of RSF So the people can do recce even without driving an RBR. So they basically just have to download a video and they can do their pace notes and use all the features that the app has to offer. But this was really a huge project. Like there were almost 30 people that were part of this project. Everyone was driving like 16 stages. Some people were even driving 32 stages. And that was from the organization. From the organizational point of view, it was really massive to collect all the different data from all the people and manage it, but it worked out so nicely. All the people were really professional. Like, it was a pleasure to work with all those guys from the RSF community. And yeah, we made it actually. In the end, it's been like 444 stages that have been driven by all the people. And yeah, I want to take the opportunity to say one more time, big thank you to everyone who's been involved in this project, because for me personally, it was such a nice project and a nice time, and also a huge motivation. And yeah, I'm really happy that it turned out so well. Now the first version was released a few weeks ago. There will be there will be updates frequently, but maybe not big updates. I will focus now more on fixes, and then probably go ahead with some other things that I want to do for RBR.
Yeah, you already mentioned those few things you have done, and also you say that there's a lot of people helping you and with this project, but also we can see it that way, that you give a chance for many people to be part of helping to make RBR better. Not all the people have, the skills and knowledge to do something like you can do, but now they were able to be part of this. So I guess there are a lot of people who want to help to make RBR better and want to improve RBR. So you created an opportunity to some people to be part of this thing. And it's really nice that when you're talking at the beginning of your speech that you got the idea that the base notes making is not really good and you want to change it. So it was lucky that you got the idea because you had the knowledge how to do this kind of thing. For example, I know nothing how to do anything like that, and I guess there's not so many people in general who knows how to do that kind of good softwares and stuff that you did. So it was really nice that it was just you who got the idea because you have the knowledge how to do everything. So we have this kind of product at the moment.
Yeah, but it's a good thing that you're mentioning this, everyone who is involved in the community and who does this, who plays RBR, who has certain passion for the community, everyone can help. You do not have to be a developer, a software developer, or you do not have to do some crazy reverse engineering with assembly code or whatsoever. No, everyone can help, you can do some promotion, some videos, I don't know whatsoever, maybe develop some co-drivers. You do not have to be a programmer to make some good co-drivers. Now some guy asked if there is some Lithuanian co-driver in RBR. This kind of things are also possible. Blaugreg, for example, I think you know him. He's a really nice example how much it can help if someone really tries to bring all the French people into the community and help them with some kind of tutorials or descriptions or whatsoever. He's also he's probably, I don't know, maybe he's also a software developer, I don't know, but I guess not. But still, he can do so much for the community. And I think this should be a motivation for everyone. Not only if you do not have to be a developer to bring the sim forward. Also, all the people from the RSF support. like Shaky or Punch or Telk or whatsoever. All these guys are doing so much work to help all those people. And this is also something where you do not need to be a developer, but still you push the sim forward. And yeah, I really hope that some people take some good things out of this and will try to help to make the sim better.
Yep. Could we then talk a little bit actually the roadbook and what is good about it? Do you have something to say, Ignas, about the roadbook?
First of all, I would like to say very big thanks to Arak. He made such an amazing job, and it was glad a part. Actually, I was a part of that really big Reka campaign. So yeah, it's really nice feeling when you are part of this project. At least you are helping with the driving through the stages. So yeah, actually, I think we should say advantages of this software. But in my opinion, the biggest advantage is that you can recce the stage even without going to RBR. You can just have a laptop. You can be in holiday. You can sit near to sea, and when you don't have to do anything, you can just what I should do then. Well, I can recce the stages. So
And
yeah,
many people, I don't know how many, but there are people who have, the one computer on their rig where they are driving. And
yeah.
then they, for example, have the laptop where they are doing other things. So you don't have to go to the rig, be there sitting on your proper seat, which is not maybe the most comfortable one to, do other things than driving. So you don't have to be there on your driving computer and driving equipments doing the bass notes. You can be wherever you want.
For me, one of the things that I very much like about the tool is that you can reproduce a recce one-to-one like it is in real life. You can drive recce like you do in real life. You record your recce driving and you speak all of the notes on the video. This is the job of the driver. And once you finish driving, then you take over to the job of the co-driver and you watch the video and write down all of the notes. And basically it's just one by one the process that you also have when you do real life recce. And also one thing that probably, I don't know if the people are using it because I did not hear so much feedback about it. The audio markers is something that, I mean, like, to be honest, the roadbook app like it is right now is some kind of improvement, but you can also write the pace notes with the pace note plugin. But something that is really nice is that you can record audio markers, so you can drive competition, and then you can speak some notes correction. This is something that I wanted to have all the time, because sometimes I'm really lazy with making pace notes. And sometimes I just go into the rally and then I figure out there are some wrong notes, but I forget about them and I'm too lazy to fix them. But now I have a possibility to make an audio marker and then later I can fix it very quickly. And this is also something that you have in real life. If you do the first leg, then you also speak the notes correction to the co-driver during the rally stage.
Yeah, and it actually, in real life, what I have heard and understood, they don't maybe correct the whole bass note. They just say something, and then after the stage, they like go back to that point on their head, or even they can see their onboard and they fix it after the stage. I don't know for me what would be the biggest good thing about this, because I would say I was quite good on the old system. I have done base notes with the old way like 4 years, I guess. So it's quite easy to do all the clickings and that kind of stuff, but I think that it's really nice that there's some little annoying things that are now a lot easier. For example, if I do some misclick, if I, for example, remove one base node with the old system that was on the correct location, but my car or the replay was already further away, it was impossible to get that back on the location where it was without going there with the car, and that kind of little annoying things that would require go reversing on the stage or with the replay, doing a lot of clicking here and there. Those kind of things are basically gone. So, and those were really annoying in places. It just felt that how this there must be a way to do this better, and how this can be so difficult and annoying. So that is one big thing I know already, but then I will learn more when I really start to use it. I thought that this year on the rallies of this season I will still do with my old way, because it's so big routine how I do. And then for the new season, for the 2023, I really start to use the road book and like change everything when the whole season is changing as well.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I think generally with the old drivers who have been doing their base notes a long time already, it was just annoying. It was possible to use the old system, it was just annoying and it took time quite a lot. But especially for the new drivers who have never done their base notes before, this is something even more amazing, because they don't have to learn those difficult and annoying things of the old system at all. They can just start with this. So it's, I guess, even more amazing for the new base note writers, and hopefully it makes people to do more on base notes, because it's now easier. Maybe back on the old days it was so difficult that people, maybe they were thinking that should I do all base notes, then they try it and give up. At least I know that kind of persons a lot. But maybe now it's changing and people really are focusing more at the base notes, which is something that I would like to see, because base notes are a big part of the rallying, a really big part. It's not just the driving and making maybe setups and testing, it's also the base notes are really important, and those are always also personal. So for example, if I watch some streams or videos, I like to learn how other people's and listen how the other people are done their base notes. So I hope that this road book will improve the amount of people who are doing their own base notes.
Yeah, I fully agree. Also, for VR users, it's quite helpful, because the Pace Note plugin is not working in VR. So they can do the Pace Notes like Ignas said on the beach in the holidays. But in general, I really hope that it will motivate and encourage the people to do more Pace Notes. At least they do not have any excuse not to do it if they complain about other Pace Notes.
Yeah. Of course, it's still, it requires some effort and it requires work. So I understand if there's some people who are saying that that's too much, but it's so much easier now that in case there's people who really want to do base notes, I guess he's now doing. And what I have heard, I haven't tried myself yet, as I said, really, but what I have heard, it's also making it a lot faster. Not like a little bit, like you say, something like few minutes per stage, but a lot faster of making base notes. So that's something really interesting, and what I'm looking forward. Can I make my base note making a lot faster? Because it's a big amount of time that I'm using to do my own pace notes. Especially now when I started to do the timing as well and fighting with to get the good timing. It's taking huge amount of time, and in case there's few series, few championships that I'm driving, it's so many hours per week that I need to do just for the pace notes. So in case I can make the process faster with the road book, I will have more time to, for example, practice the driving, which will be really nice. It should make me faster, so that is one interesting thing about this for sure.
I think you already have a good starting point with all the pace notes that you already did in the past. But
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know, for example, the one thing that I say, the timing of the pace notes, I guess I still need to fine-tuning that in the game. But anyway, when there's a new stage, at least on those situations, the roadbook will be helping a lot. Even my kind of driver who have done the pace notes like many years.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it, and I hope it's okay for you guys if I say once again that it was a really huge motivation to work with all the people. There was such a nice positive energy with all the people involved. So one more time, big thanks to everyone who participated and also who gave feedback about the software and tried to improve it. And also really big thanks once again to Worker B for giving us the PaceNote plugin. Because as I said in the beginning, the tool is only possible, or it's only working because we have the PaceNote plugin. And as far as I remember, RBR still is the only rally simulation or rally game that allows to modify pace notes. So this really is something that increased the realism of the sim even more.
There was a lot of questions to how to do that on that. Can we do that or that on the roadbook? I guess we are not going to go through all of those now, but there is a Discord channel. You can ask those questions, and for sure, if you have problems or anything, you can ask on the Discord. Do you have Arek the invitation link? You can send it on the chat.
Yes, I will send it. Yes, yeah. I will send it.
And people who are listening this later on the YouTube, the recording, I try to remember to put all the links on the video description, so you can go there and find your way to the roadbook Discord and the webpage where you can download the roadbook and everything kind of that.
I'm allowed to post links on your Twitch, right?
Yeah, there should be
very good.
Everyone can post a link. But if you post on bad links, I will ban you.
No, don't you worry.
There was tell.
Let me just answer one question, because this is something I really want to make clear here. Tactical Eater asked if there is some speech recognition or if this is possible. Actually, this is something I tested. Yeah, at the very beginning when I had the first ideas and I created the first prototypes. But to be honest, the whole process about speech recognition is not working reliably. Like, especially if you have some custom pace notes for custom co-driver, then you have different languages and so on. And it just did not work. Like, I tried it, but it was not good. So that is on purpose that the tool does not have any speech recognition, and I don't think it will have in short term.
Yeah. There was one comment I wanted to read. Yeah, that one from Taapeli. Sounds like this. I think in the future pace notes will play a much bigger part in RBR, since from now the release of roadbook folks pace notes are getting better and better, and they are getting faster and faster. So in the future, if you are coming to RBR, the importance of the pace notes is far greater than it had been, and it is at the moment. So that is a good point. in the future, now thanks to Roadbook, there is more and more driver who have their own base nodes, which is making them faster and faster. So if you want to be good on Risen Virtually, you have to make your own base nodes, or at least it's more important in case people are doing their own base nodes more and more. And it's really good thing. Of course, you can still hot lap all the stages, but that's the other story then. Okay. Do you have anything else to talk about the roadbook at this point?
Everything has been said.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Actually, well, I really would like to invite everyone to use that tool, or at least to try it, because yeah, it's really helpful, even for the beginner.
Well, that was a good way to end the roadbook talk. And if you have something still on the chat, feel free. We can go back to the roadbook, or even some other things we have already talked about. It's not so serious. But then the last important or highlighted update we picked up, again, the list was extremely long. Maybe we forgot something, but at least this one there, this is quite new thing. A car-specific lock-to-lock rotation and the steering wheel rotation, how many angles your steering wheel is rotating. And what is meaning it is that you can now set car by car a specific lock-to-lock rotation. Like before that thing, for example, if I was driving a R5 car and then chasing to some old car where the steering wheel was rotating a lot more, and because of realism, I want to use a lot higher lock-to-lock rotation. I need to go to desktop to my Trustmaster software and there manually change the steering rotation lock-to-lock value that I wanted to use. But now it's like automatically you have to once set it for each car, and then when you go to drive that car, it's automatically there. What do you think about that? I don't know if I explained it good enough.
I think, yeah, you explained it quite well. Actually, yeah, when we started to test this feature, there were some issues with some different manufacturers of wheelbases, including Logitech. So there were some issues for Logitech users. At least for me, I didn't have any problems, but yeah, some guys, some Logitech guys had those, but yeah, Mika fixed that. So yeah, but this feature is really helpful because every time when I had to plug in my wheel, I should test. Oh no! I should change my steering rotation in Logitech profile year software, and it was really time consuming. So, but now as we have this feature, so it's really helpful. You can just plug in your wheel and you can just launch RBR, and you have already the steering angle you want, which you want. So yeah.
What about Arek?
To be honest, I did not test it until now because, like in RBR, I'm driving like 3 different cars, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I have a specific SimioCube profile for each car.
Oh.
So I have all the settings there. But I think that also I will have to try it out. Yes.
Yeah, I haven't tried it as well yet, but I understand the thing. Once, this is like the only thing I understand almost of this we have talked about. But this one I understand well, and I understand it's a good thing, and especially for the drivers who are changing a lot of different cars. For me also, it like 2 weeks I'm driving only that one R5 car, then I change to another car, which I will do my next race. I'm not that kind of driver that just go there and play with different cars a lot, but for sure there is that kind of drivers as well, and especially for those, this is a really good thing. And at least sometimes when I was doing that like the old way that I had to go to the desktop, I need to shut down. I need to shut down the Ritz and Burns rally to make it really working. That the steering rotation angle really changed. So I can't remember it is still, but sometimes it didn't work out really easily. So it really took time to change the rotation angle. So again.
Yeah. And also, it's important to note that this feature is compatible with the most usable, or the most usable wheelbases: Trustmaster, Logitech, Simocube, Fanatec, and some others. But for some rare wheelbases like Gabiria and some others, this feature is not working, unfortunately. But let's see what the future will bring. Maybe this feature will be compatible with every wheelbase.
Yep, and there's like basically you could say these same words to so many updates that these are little or let's say medium size of things, but these are making the playing of Ritz and Burns Rally so much less stressful, so much more easier, more fun. And when we have a lot of these things during the year, the total amount how much the Ritz and Burns Rally is going easier to use and more fun to use and play, it's quite a big effect. I can't even remember anymore, but let's say 2-3 years ago, when most of the people were still driving the check plugin and you had to do a lot more things manually, it's quite a big change where we are today than where we were back like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I fully agree. The people from RSF, they are pushing it so massively, and I think also this was quite a huge effort. I mean, like if you imagine that you have to support all of the different devices from different all the different wheels. Oh, that's massive. And like GoPliner said, I think it's Tobier, that was also a community effort, because there were many people who were testing when reporting, and that was another example that the people from the community can help to push the sim forward. So big thanks to everyone involved.
Yeah, GoPliner was just saying the same on the chat, that it is a good example of active RSF community drivers and people this whole project. Then there is also one thing we almost forget, or I almost forget. I can't remember now when it came, but we talk about it now at the end of the most important mods and updates. It is the Blender exporter, and I have to say that I know basically nothing about this, so I guess Arek knows a little bit more, but I know that that amount of thing I know at least that this is a really nice and important thing to have, and especially when we think how the recent version will be, for example, after 5 years, this can be playing quite a big role of that.
Yes. Unfortunately, I'm also not a stage maker, so I also have limited knowledge about stage making. But what I can say is that this is actually a huge milestone in general, because with the Blender exporter, or let's say without the Blender exporter, stages like Gabiria-Legazpi wouldn't be possible. For those who do not know anything about the Blender exporter, it's an add-on for Blender. Blender is a software for 3D design and modeling, and it's an add-on for Blender that helps to export tracks and stages from Blender directly to RBR, and it makes the whole workflow not only a lot nicer, but it enables additional features from the vanilla RBR stages that were not available in the previous in the stages before the Blender exporter, and it makes the whole work a lot easier and faster. And this will definitely be something that will help all the stage makers to make nicer stages and to make them a lot faster. And I can highly recommend, if you ever wanted to try out to do some stage, go ahead and try it out. Like Tom Smalley, the developer of the Blender exporter, he did a really good job with the add-on, but also not only with the add-on, but also with the whole documentation. Like if you are a little bit skilled with computers, get Blender. It's for free. It's an open source software. Download the Blender track exporter and just try to go through the guide from the Blender exporter. And I tell you, everyone can try out to build his own stage. And maybe some of the guys who are listening will be motivated to do some stages for RBR. It would be really nice.
Yeah, and like for me, people who doesn't understand a lot about this, how I think it is that now it's more easier to do stages to the original format, not anymore to BTP format. And as we already talked about at the beginning of this episode, especially now, there is some issues with the BTP format stages, and what Arek said, we are missing some features. We can't have terrain, for example. The surface is always dry, it cannot be damp, it cannot be wet, and all that kind of things are...
Collisions.
Yeah.
The problem with the collisions, the bad performance.
Car reflections. Yeah, also.
Replay cameras. The list is so long, like, to be honest. I mean, like, BTB is maybe nice to do something quickly, but if you want to do a really good looking stage with all the features that RBR has to offer, like, it's the best way to do it with the Blender add-on, because you get all the features that you need to do a stage that is almost like the vanilla stages.
Yeah, and there has been a huge amount of drivers who have came to recent Burns Rally and asked me some help, and it's not so nice that you have to explain, for example, always that you have like two different kind of stages. You have the BTP stages and original format stages, and there is some things that are not like same on the BTP than they are on the original format and blah blah blah. So it's nice that now we will get more original format stages, and as I said, maybe after many years, after 5 years, people don't even remember anymore what was a BTP stages. Who knows how long it will take, but maybe it will go like this, And actually, at least I hope it will go like that.
I will post a link if that's okay to the
Yeah.
Blender exporter, and there is also a link to the features. So there is quite nice comparison, not only with BTB stages, because as we just said, the list is very long, but there's a comparison with the Wallaby tool, and there you can see what's the difference and what kind of features are there in the Blender exporter. Like for example, break walls are possible now. So you cannot, like if you if you do a good job with your stage, you can create break walls to not fall into a void, like it was maybe sometimes on other stages. This is really nice. Water surfaces are supported. This is really cool. And so many other things. As I said, I'm unfortunately not an expert with this, but there are also these animations that we have with the material, with the texture animations.
Yeah, that was one good point. Yes.
This is so nice with the flags, for example, with the waving flags. Or in Hario, we also have the advertisement animation. That's also really, really nice.
Yeah.
And I think there are so many possibilities that you can do with this. For also the smoke. Like in Gabiria-Legazpi, there is the smoke coming out of the house. That's really, really nice.
There's kind of little details that makes everything to look a lot better when those came like together, all those little details. And Gobliner was saying that the flood of new stages in RBR format, it's just thanks to this thing, Blender exporter. And
I think this program is just investment to RBR future.
Yes.
So in the near future, we will see more and more tracks exported by this add-on. So big thanks to Tom and ForkRB for sure.
And it was already like quite huge amount of stages than we got like on the previous last 2 updates. And I don't know, somehow I feel it's just a beginning, and it's crazy amount of stages that we have already, and now we will have even more, and good quality stages. That is something that make me really happy. I like that there's a lot of stages, but for me the quality is even more important than the amount of stages. So I really like to and hope that we'll see good quality stages now. And Gobliner also saying that this is like one of the most important new RBR innovations for a long time. So it's quite a lot said from Gobliner.
100%. I fully agree. As I said, it's a huge milestone for RBR, and also the effort behind it. I'm not an expert, but this must be a lot of work that was needed to do the reverse engineering and all the development for the add-on. And who knows what they still have in the pipeline. At least I know that WorkerBee did the reverse engineering for the animation, for the real animation, like the animation with the marshals, for example, that we know from the vanilla game. And maybe one day it will also be part of the Blender exporter, and then we will also see maybe some crazy things, in the RBR stages. So who knows what is still possible, but it's already a huge step, and it's definitely will help all the stage makers to make even better and nicer stages than we already have.
Yeah, it's also that's a good point that many times when we get something new like this, it's not only making possible the things that are now here, but it's nice to think also that maybe it allows something new and amazing to happen in the future. Like for example was with the NCP7 and the new physics update rate. We cannot even know. Maybe there's something crazy nice in the future that is possible because we now have that new physics update rate.
I have to say once again that it always surprises me that Worker B gives us all these things, like the new NGP, all the cars, all the reverse engineering that he did for the Blender exporter, and all the other things that he does for RBR. It's like, if you sum it up, it's so much that we really have to be thankful for all this effort that he invested into RBR.
Yeah, and it's just a one person, so it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Amazingly lot.
But
And
also,
it's even difficult to think how much there is happened. It's just that we can thank the Worker B. And of course the other people as well. That has been included to this.
Yes, of course. This is what I wanted to say. The main head behind the Blender exporter is Tom Smalley. I don't know if I pronounce his last name correctly, but he was the main guy who developed the Blender exporter, and big thanks for him to give us this tool. And yeah, it's a really good times for RBR right now.
And it's crazy because I remember back in I don't remember if it was our first episode or the Finnish RBR podcast or whatever. This has been said quite many times that we are living good times what comes to the RBR, but somehow it still goes further and forward, and we are saying it again, and it's quite crazy. Then maybe let's talk about the stages a little bit, and as I said a few moments ago, there is crazy amount of stages that has came to Rally Sim Fun plugin since our first episode 8 months ago, and for sure it's no way we could go through all of those. So we will pick few of the stages, and if you feel that there is some stage that you would like to talk about, just mention that on the chat. There is no issues for us to do that. But we try to pick few of the stages, and let's check how this will go. And well, the Harju special stage was one that came quite early. Let's try to go these a little bit in the order how this has came to Richard Burns Rally. So there was the Harju stage, and at least for me it is one of the highlights because it was quite a long time we waited the Harju stage. There was some pieces of information that it's coming, like I don't know how many years even, and we waited and waited and waited the Harju stage, and then it finally came. And it's a special stage from Rally Finland, the super special that starts the Rally Finland, has done it like I don't know how many years already, 6 years, something like that, or even more. And it's run on the middle of the Jyväskylä city. So, and one of the best super special stages in the whole world that I have ever seen. And if I'm right, also the drivers like it compared to many of the other super special stages as well. So those were some of the reasons why it was really nice to finally get the Harju. And yeah, what do you think about that?
Ignas, maybe you want to go first?
Yeah. Actually, I would say this is the most favorite Mickey Mouse stage. It has mixed surfaces. We start on tarmac, then we are going a little bit on gravel, then going back on tarmac also. So it's a tricky stage, for sure. There are there are actually really tricky places. Not only chicanes, but also there are some trees, rocks also. So
Yeah.
at the first sight, it looks it looks like just a regular stage without any big yeah, without any I don't know how to say, yeah, without any
Difficult places.
yeah, difficult places, yeah. And but when you are starting this stage later, so it's really challenging stage for sure. So
It is especially I don't know if it's correct to say the forest part, but after the downhill braking where you have a tight and narrow junction to the right, there is like a long tightening right, and immediately after that a short left. So it's really difficult to see the apex of that corner. There are big trees on both sides of the road, and I've been watching that place like every year in real life, and it's only the top drivers that are really able to drive it. All the other drivers are pumping a lot with the brake and throttle, and it looks really slow and careful. So it's really like a scary place to drive and really difficult place to drive. And yeah, Arek's comment about the Harry, do you have anything to say?
It's an amazing stage. The stage designers did a great job. What I really liked about the stage was the excitement when it was released from all the people. And also Janne did a really, really nice video about it. That was also really cool. And that was really nice that all those people were celebrating it so heavily that we have the Haryu stage after waiting for so long. And I'm also really happy for the stage designers that they finished it, so they can go ahead and make maybe another stage for us. And about the stage itself, I mean, like, especially with all the buildings that you have there, and all the objects and all the things that you find on the stage, there must be so much work behind it to make it look so realistically. And as far as I know from the stage designers, that was their targets. They wanted to make it look very realistically, as realistic as possible. And I think they nailed it and made it really good. And they also collected feedback from real life drivers, which is also a really nice thing, you know. This is also something I like very much, that they collected all those information to figure out how they can make the stage even better.
Yeah, I remember, for example, was it Teemu Suninen did the stage, and he said that there was some, you know, those, I don't know in English, those rocks that are between the driveway and where the people are walking, those things were like, there was not high enough or something like that, and some chicane was not tight enough or something. That kind of little details are, you know, those are checked from the real life drivers as well, that those are feeling same in the Ridge and Burns rally. And I totally agree, it's really well done, the stage, all the details and the object of course, but also it's really close to real life what comes to how the road is going and everything. I cannot remember the margin. I have been told, but I just can't remember. Was it like how many centimeters there is gap to the real life? It's not a lot. And I live 1 kilometer from the Harju stage, so I know really well how it looks there. If I now check from the window, I can see the Harju. So I can say, you can trust me that it's really, you know, realistic how everything is looking there, and how the road is going and everything like that.
Great job.
Unfortunately, I don't like to drive it. I hate that kind of stages. That's a little bit sad because it's so well done and it's so close to my home. It's like my home stage, but I just hate to drive that kind of technical super special stages. It's not really enjoyable, but no can do. And yeah, it was when the stage announced on the Rally Sim Fun channel, it was Harju team, thanks to the Harju team, but Joona Karimaa, Aleksi Paakkinen, Vileska, maybe the most important ones on that. And if I remember someone, I feel really sorry. There's a lot of things in my head at the moment, but those were maybe the main people who were developing the stage. And again, if I didn't remember someone of the main team, feel free to correct me on the chat or wherever. Then Biscupies, it came to offline use also. It was not a new stage, and actually in our first episode we talked about the Biscupies stage already, but now it came to the offline use as well, which is a really nice thing because it's one of the best stages of the Rittenbergs Rally, as we already were talking on the first episode. But back then it was only on online use. You need to create a rally to be able to drive the stage. But now you can do it on the practice.
Am I right that this stage is the first one which was exported with a Blender exporter?
No, I think this stage,
was it? Oh, I'm not even sure.
as far as I know, is that the Biscupice was done with the Wallaby way. And
there was like something special about the Biscupies, but I have to say again that I'm not so expert about stage mazing and those Wallaby and Blender exporter that I just can't know and I can't be sure.
I know we had this discussion last time. Biscupice was the first stage who used LiDAR data to make all the laser scan data, LiDAR data to make.
Yeah, that was the specific thing of.
This is what we were talking about quite long. Yeah. But we are already a little bit clever now. There are several stages now already in RBR who have been designed on the same technique. Harju as well, as far as I know. So this is really something that will help to make the stages look even more realistic.
Well, basically, the point of this update now was that it's on the offline use as well, so you can do your practice run there, you can go there and film videos or whatever you want to do, you can just go to Biscupies and do your thing. One thing we pick up is the super special stage that I cannot pronounce, but Valaske Mechirisi, Czech super special stage from David Radil, and it's nice because there is a roundabout where you can do a donuts.
And also you can find Joonas.
Yeah, you can find I'm there on the stage as well, cheering to all of you, and do not be careful on that corner. Put a little bit sideways with the handbrake. For me, please. But yeah, that is just a little detail, but the roundabout is nice because it's really easy to go there and play with the car. And also I have to say let's say the corners before the roundabout as well, there's those hairpin and junctions on the parking area. It's quite fun stage to play with the car, not even try to be fast, just play with the car. And it's not also fun thing to do, but I would say it's also quite good if you want to develop yourself as a driver, just to play with the car, to learn how the car will behave when you put it on the heavy slide and do donuts and burn out the tires and whatever. It's a nice stage for that, and at least for me, there wasn't really that kind of stages before where I would just like to go and play. But this is now that kind of stage for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a huge. I really like this stage, and yeah, the people in the community have showed some really nice reaction. I think it's already a very popular stage. I think it's not so difficult to learn, which sometimes is something that the people are struggling. You can have a lot of fun with the car. Like you said, Joonas, you can do some drifting and so on. And it's also very technical and tight and basically a lot of fun to drive the stage. And also really, really good quality stage. Like David is also the guy who did the Helfstein BTB stage. He's a really skilled guy from Czech Republic, and he gave us he did a really nice job with this stage.
Yeah, I also really like the stage. The first reason also is that the stage looks really good. The second reason is the stage is based on real life stage, and it's a traditional stage of one of the Czech national rally championship events. So yeah, that's a good stage, and yeah.
And I have to say, the roundabout, it's not really easy because it's a little bit like on the downhill and there's like a negative road camper in places. So it's not so easy to do the donuts there, especially with all the cars. But it's really nice when you got the, thing started and the car running well around the thing. So it makes me smiling every time I do it. But there's also a bad thing about that because I'm really slow on that stage. I find out it when I tried to do a fast time once because I had just been playing a lot. I don't know how to be fast. I know how to drift there, but I don't know how to be fast because I've been just drifting there.
You have to mention that you do not have to do the roundabout on the stage road.
Yeah, there's like 3 loops. On the first two loops you go from right, like straight the roundabout, and then the final loop when you are going to the roundabout you just take like a junction to the left, so you don't have to do that, but
it's a really tricky place and narrow, and also that turn to the left, it's so unseen. So when I watched some streams, well, the guys who draw the stage for the first time, so they struggled a lot, especially with finding that place, turning to the left.
I also know one driver who did the stage on the stream when it came, and he got lost like 5 times during the whole stage. He was really lost there. Totally unable to find the road, but yeah, when you know how the state is going and even listening the bass notes, it's not the most confusing one, but it's a tricky one. And also, when you are going to the roundabout on the first 2 loops, the right corner before the roundabout, it's really narrow and difficult to drive. You know that you can do it fast, there's no tight corners. After that, you want to gain the speed and maintain the speed, but it's a tricky place.
I have to say it's already one of my most favorite corner combination in RBR. The tight right-hander and the hairpin before the right-hander. There is a hairpin on the parking place.
Yeah.
And then from the hairpin you go into the tight right-hander.
Yeah, it's like a bit over 90 degree. The corner after the hairpin.
You can drive it so nicely with a rear-wheel drive car like the BMW or whatever, because you can take the hairpin and you can hold the drift when you go.
You can use the hairpin like a Scandi flick.
Yes, and you just go into the tight corner and it's so tight, so you really have to be very precise, and it's so nice to drive this corner combination.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is not maybe the fastest way, but it's really nice, and it requires a little bit from the drivers as well. You can feel happiness if you manage to do it that way, that you slide from the hairpin, use that slide as a Scandi flick to the next tight corner. And I have done it also with the, if I remember right, with the Group A Escort and Sport Quattro, for example. So those kind of, you need to have power and maybe some old cars that doesn't have so much grip, so it's really fun. But I don't know even can you do the drift, for example, with R5 car from the hairpin to the next corner. I don't know, I haven't tried, but
So
go and try. It's one fun and tricky.
yeah, during the stage, the most important thing is to have the power steering.
Yeah. And there is not only Joonas on the stage, there is Patrick Åkerfeldt as well, one of the best Ritzenberg rally drivers in the world. You can find him, and I don't even know who those guys I know, but maybe there is other people as well, and there is one cute dog at the finish you can spot, and lot of that kind of nice thing from the Rally Fun community on the stage. That I like those kind of things really well, because what comes to the people, you need people to the stage. So why not to put people who are, driving the Ritzenberg rally instead of some random people? I like that a lot, that idea. Then, there's that one huge mega stage. We could talk that at the end, but is there some other stages that you would like to mention here now? During the last 8 months.
Yeah, I have a question. What is, because it's a very specific stage, or specific stages, in total 4 different combinations.
Yeah.
And I would like to know your opinion about Koprivnice.
Those were the 4 stages.
The stage on the testing area.
Yeah.
The Czech stage on the testing area.
Okay, Ignas, would you want to begin? I need to go 1 minute break. I will be back then.
First of all, I would say that that location is based on real life, and the whole polygon, let's say, is used by Tatra company. That company makes trucks in Czech Republic, and and they are testing on that polygon their trucks. So actually, there are 4 layouts. The most favorite one is the first one. But also the other ones are really tricky. The default base notes are not so good. You have to make by yourself. So yeah, but actually, it's a really unique stage, and you can win a lot of time there if you know that stage really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I heard it's difficult and you can win a lot of stages and that kind of stuff, and unique, and well, I agree. And there's what I remember, there is a lot of that kind of, or at least few that kind of corner that are just extremely slippy, really tight, long light hairpin kind of corners, and negative road camper, and the tarmac is really smooth, slippery. So when there's raining and you are even on the dry tires on the wet tarmac, it's like you have to go like walking speed. It's crazy slippy and so technical and everything. Well, you maybe guess that if I'm not fond of driving, for example, special stages of Harju and that kind of technical stuff, I'm not enjoying a lot of those stages as well. Really difficult for me and not so enjoyable, but in case those are in rallies that I will be driving, I need to put a lot of effort for those, and I guess it's same story for all the people, because if you just skip the practice of those, you will be losing, like, especially on the longest one, like 30 seconds or something like that. It's really, really tricky.
No.
I can't remember properly now how was the stage in general, how good it was looking, or that kind of thing, but for sure it was not the most beautiful stage that we have, but not the most ugliest as well. So maybe, am I right, that kind of like medium what comes to the overall looking of the stage?
Yeah, there have been a few quality issues with the stage. But in general, I have the same opinion like you. From the driver's perspective, it's a really nice stage. I'm a huge fan. I've been already a huge fan of the stage when it was released for a Czech plugin.
Yeah.
But I did not drive it. I've just seen it on the YouTube videos, and I'm really happy that this came to RSF, because I think, as you said, it's a really unique addition to all the stages that we have in RBR, and it's tight, it's technical, it's a lot of hairpins. You need to use the handbrake all the time, and I really think that it's something new, and I hope it will be used in some road books in the rally events.
And also, I would like to add that actually there is no any place where you can relax a little bit. All the time, the stage is so thick, so twisted and narrow, and there are not so many straights. So as far as I remember, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure you will be sweating at the finish of the stage, even if the average speed is really slow. And there's that one nice, it's not a corner, but you have like a few tires in the middle of the wide area, and you have to go around of those. So it's like another place where you can do a little bit of donuts that I can remember, but it's a really, really tricky stage. And we have the, it is from Poland, what is the name of that is a little bit like a testing area. Is it the FSO Ceran, or what is the name of that stage? So
from Warsaw, I think, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but that and now this one are at least that kind of testing area stages that we have in Return Burns Rally. So not a lot of that kind of stages. Okay, it seems there's nothing on the chat. They would like to pick up some stage, so we can move forward, I guess. What do you think? Should I quickly just mention all the new stages that we have?
Yeah, at least mention them by name.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be so many stages, and there's so much work involved.
Yeah,
It's clear that we cannot talk about every stage because it's so much. But at least
so it's 8 months since our last episode, and now if my calculations are right, I will go through the announcement list of the Rally Sim Fund Discord. So the first stage is after our first episode that came was Zeletsniki, that fast and flowing tarmac stage, at least on the beginning. Then El Cubilete. Then these are updates. So Zeletsniki was the new stage of that update. And if you have anything you want to say about the stage when I say the name, feel free to say it. Then we have Inland Road stages from the New Zealand. We have the Inland Road 2022 and Inland Road Reversed 2022. Nice flowing New Zealand gravel, and we don't have so many of New Zealand stages in Ridge and Burst Rally, and it's really nice rally country, nice roads, quite legendary roads in my opinion, so it's really nice to have those more in Region Burst Rally as well. Then we had the Harju we already talked about, and then Alpes Rally came. Quite tricky, tarmac stage, really technical, and even more tricky and technical, Rally Diepflingen. It's just like, now when I think the Rally Diepflingen is the most difficult stage that I have seen in Region Burst Rally. It's so narrow, and then there are those two crazy bumps that you need to go walking through over without breaking your car, so really difficult stage for that. Then let's move on. There's no more stages. There's Barak and Barak Snow, Mitterbach Tarmac. We have the Mitterbach Snow, but now there's also tarmac version. Olsava 2010 and Olsava Long. And yeah, then test stages. That was a interesting one. We have Rally Yard, Garage, Podium, and Service Park. Those environments and areas that are from the original Region Burst Rally. You can now go and play there if you want. Take some pictures, for example, in the garage. I have seen a few really nice pictures from the garage and or in the podium or whatever. And also the Rally Yard. It's a little bit like the one stage we already talked about, the place where you can play. It's just a massive yard. You can do handbrake turns and burnouts and donuts and whatever you want. Then we have a massive list. This was the crazy list not so long time ago. We have a Banov and Banov 2. We have a Banov Okruh. Then we have these Koprimnis stages. I guess Arek said a lot better the name of those. Difficult for me. As well as the next one, Horace Dovais Komusin. There was actually Arnotje in the chat telling that he really likes the Horace Dovais Komusin stage. I have to say that there's so many stages on this update that it's really difficult me to like think, okay, what was that and what was that. And then we have the Super Specialist stage, Valaske Mesirisi, that we already talked about. And PTP stage as well, La Serra de Almos, but it's a really good stage as a PTP stage.
This is one of the best BTB stages, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's well done, and it's also nice to drive.
And also, it has gravel patches, and yeah, it's kind of realistic.
Yeah, gravel is slippier than the tarmac and that kind of stuff. And many times there has been stages that are really well done. That then I say that I don't like driving it. But now this is a stage that is really, it's looking good and it's also nice to drive for me. Is flowing tarmac, not the most smoothest tarmac stages we have on Spain or from Spain, but a little bit more rough, but nice still. And yeah, that was the massive stage update what comes to the amount of the stages, and then we have only one before the massive one stage.
Just before you go ahead, I tried to count all the stages, and from the May, like when you said Zelesniki, the first stage, I counted now 37 stages in total.
It's quite a lot.
That's crazy.
In 8 months.
That's crazy.
and it somehow it seems that it's just increasing the pace how we are getting new stages. At least at the end of this year has been quite crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. La Atalaya, I don't know how to say, and reverse of that stage. Rally Dieflingen reversed, the stage that I said is like the most difficult fun for me in Region Burns Rally.
On this direction, I think this stage is more tricky than on the normal version.
Okay, that's interesting because I found it another way around. Are you able to say why you feel like that? Or do you just have the feeling like that?
Actually, I did that stage only once, but on the normal version, I did that stage quite many times. So maybe the knowledge of stage, the reasons.
Yeah. I found, for me, the most difficult part of the stage is the start of the normal version, that gravel, I don't know if we can say road, but gravel path. And when we have the reverse version, it's at the end of the stage, so I feel I have like more time to adapt to the stage, and those are not coming so surprisingly the difficult places, because there's a little bit more time to adapt to the narrow roads and everything before the most difficult part. And maybe the corners were more opening on the reverse direction or something like that, I don't know, but I had that kind of feeling. Then Era del Cardón reversed that really smooth tarmac stage, and Murello, lot of hairpins if I remember right. Yeah, it was the stage where it's the tunnel and a lot of hairpins going all the time basically uphill. That kind of stage you can see, for example, on the Monte Carlo. And yeah, and then the Atalaya was the really flowing stage. Yeah, now I remember, it was really flowing stage and a stage that I like it a lot. Really easy to get flow on that stage. I guess when I just have time to drive all of these stages, the Atalaya stage will be one of my favorites for sure. It's really enjoyable stage in my opinion. And then I guess we have only one stage left. Yep. There was it wasn't so long waiting than with the Harju, but there was some teasers and little bit that kind of stuff before the stage, so we knew it's coming, and then it came finally. And again, I don't know properly how to say the name, but Gabiria-Legazpi 2004. What do you think?
Massive. It's massive. Just as it was with Biskupice, it's just on another level. Like when I first drove the stage, I really thought like it's another game. Like this is RBR 2.0 or whatsoever. Because all the lightning and the textures and the things that Jan and Lorenzo introduced to this stage is just really feels like next level. There are so many good things I have to say about this stage. Not only the visuals, but also from the driving perspective. The damp weather configuration with the mixed surface is so much fun to drive, and it feels so realistically when you go from damp places to dry places, and there are some muddy places, and this stage emphasizes so well how good the physics are of NGP. And I think it's definitely the new benchmark. And it's so much fun to drive in both directions. I prefer the reverse direction. You can do so nice drifting, and it's so nice to go into the ditches for some cutting. It feels very realistically, and it's massive. It also has so much meaning for RBR in general, because Jan and Lorenzo, they also did some good marketing, and I'm quite sure there are many people now who maybe came back to RBR after a long break when they've seen what kind of stage has been released to RBR, and I'm very sure that this stage pushed RBR forward. Yeah, so that's a really, really big thing.
It is, and I remember when I drive, what comes to the driving of the stage, one thing I liked a lot was the cuttings. Somehow the edge of the tarmac, it's really smooth and round, so it felt really nice to do the cuttings, and it's quite, the corners are not really fast, but there's some kind of a little bit like a flow on the stage all the time still. There's not a massive long straights. It's like a little bit from somehow same kind of corner to somehow same kind of corner all the time, and you can cut those corners and slide a little bit. So it's nice to drive also. It's not only amazing all the how it looks, how are the shadows and the lightning and everything like that, but also the profile of the road is really nice. So I'm happy that this kind of stage making technique did happen on just that kind of road profile. You know, maybe they could have choose some kind of other kind of road that would have been not so enjoyable to drive. So I'm really happy that this thing happened just on this kind of stage.
Yeah. Stage is amazing. And also one thing that is quite special about this stage is it was also made with LiDAR data, so laser scanning again, but this time with a much higher resolution. Now, I don't want to say anything wrong, but I think the resolution of Biskupice was like somewhere a meter or something. I don't know. But this one is a much higher resolution. I think somewhere in some centimeters or something. I don't know. So the whole road shape and the surface of the roads and the bumps and so on, they will most likely be very realistically designed in this stage.
I can't remember where it was, but there was some talking with the real drivers about the simulators and everything, that it's so difficult to do the rally simulators compared to the track simulators, because you can simulate the track a lot easier, a lot more realistic what comes to the details and that kind of stuff. And in a rally simulator it would be impossible. It would cost millions of euros and blah blah blah. But there it is now. It's not so long time from those talks, like 1 year or something like that. And now we have that kind of really high detailed stage also what comes to the road profile and that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, also
yeah.
I would like to say that this stage is amazing. First of all, it looks like like from another game. I even showed to some friends some videos, and they see it, and they ask me if it's RBR or not. But I said, yeah, it's RBR. So yeah, I think the stage might be used for Monte Carlo events.
Yeah,
because
so
it's kind of nowadays stage of these days Monte Carlo, I would say. We have some snow, we have some damp surface, we have some even dry and some gravel patches and so on. So it's kind of similar, and it would be really good stage for those who are going to make Monte Carlo rallies.
and it's interesting because there is not so many stages that are like on that condition that there's a little bit of snow at least on the side of the roads. So it's one nice detail of this stage that it's not only nice the road profile but also like time of the year where the state is. It's really nice that it is just how it is, that there's a little bit of the snow here and there and that kind of stuff.
Also, I would like to mention about the donation campaign, which was organized by stage creators Jan and Lorenzo. So the whole RSF community made such an amazing and incredible thing. They donated the the needed amount of money really quickly. So first of all, big thanks to Jan and Lorenzo, also Eneko and Come Over Gaming company. But also the other part of things goes to the whole RSF community.
I cannot remember now. I don't want to say it wrong. How much was the amount of money that was needed, but it
was
wasn't.
2,500 for the normal direction and 500 for the reverse direction on top.
Yeah, so 3,000 euros in total for both of the normal and reverse.
I even calculated when this stage was launched in RSF server, and the donation campaign finished in 25 hours, including 500 euros, which were must to have the reverse version. So yeah.
Initially, the plan was to do the same process for the release like for the normal direction. So like it was for the normal direction, they wanted to release it on RSF for testing. Then you can donate, and then if you reach the donation target, then it will be released for RSF. But it went so fast with the donation that they were not possible to make it that quickly, you know, like even the donation homepage was not ready for this.
Yeah.
It was literally like crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I tested that stage when the stage was already available in offline mode. So yeah, this whole donation campaign went so good and so quickly. So yeah.
And there was amazing amount of people who were driving the offline version. It was
indeed, yeah.
Oh.
It was really a big. I don't know what would be a good word for that, but people woke up of that, and one little detail I remember are the trees. I remember when I was driving the stage first time, I stopped and checked a lot the trees. Those were so good done, all the trees. And I remember I was driving the stage first time, and I thought back then that okay, this and Biskupais and maybe Helvstyn are the good looking stages. And then I went to the Helvstyn. There was one guy in my chat saying that come on, this is not even close. And then after that stage I went to the Helvstyn, which was a stage that I used to think as a good looking Richard Burshall stage. And it was crazy the difference. Yeah. So there's like, I said it on that stream also, that it's like a positive problem now that, you know, most of the stages will not look really good after you have been driving this stage.
Yeah.
Even those stages that are basically quite okay compared to the average of Richard Burshall, but not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert, so we all are not experts on stage making, but just look at the textures and look at the passion for details, you know, like all of the assets on the stages and the objects, they have so advanced textures with the shadows and the structures and whatsoever, and all so high detailed that it almost looks like photorealistic. It's crazy. It's really crazy what they get out of the 18 years old graphics engine.
Yeah, and one thing that just came to my mind, that it's running really well.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about that some PTP stages are running really well, and Richard Burshall must go forward, and you need a good computer to play a modern Richard Burshall, but I think this stage is running really well, at least with my computer, and I can't remember that there would be people complaining about FPS. And it's so good looking, so you can make this level stage that is still running really well, even with some computers that are not, expert stuff at all. So that is quite amazing, in my opinion.
I'm so happy for both of them that it turned out so well for Jan and Lorenzo with the donation campaign, because they are not only giving us these stages, but they're also contributing a lot to make the stage making better, and they developed new tools that they use to make those stages. They introduced new features, so it's really a massive step also for RBR, and it has a big meaning for all those stages that we will maybe have in future.
What do you think now? There was that donation call that need to happen before we got the stage to the region virtually. What do you think? Because now that kind of thing happened, will the other stage makers also start to do that? Do you think there is a possibility that they got the idea as well that, okay, I would like to get some donation before I release the stage, because now it happened at once?
It happened already in the past, like Torsby.
Oh yeah, I forgot the Torsby as well.
Verki also.
Okay, so there has been few of that kind of stages.
Yeah.
And at least from those stages we can say that it didn't game like all the stage makers.
But also keep in mind that the amount of needed donation for Torsby and Verki was not so big. It was like 300 euros. But now when now we have 2,500 euros, so it's much bigger money.
Yeah, it's quite big money, and of course, there must be a lot more costs on doing this stage, I guess.
Yeah, and also it depends really. Let's say that one of the part of stage creators have their main jobs, but it's not track building. The other part of stage creators have this job as their first job, so the incomes for them is really important also.
Yeah, I think this is the major difference, and the people see it. They see the quality of the stage, they see the work that is needed to give this kind of stages. And what Jan and Lorenzo actually want to do is they really want to make this on a professional level. Give us stages in high quality in short time or predictable time. This is something that it's other modders and stage makers maybe cannot have to struggle with this, because this is only possible if you do it full time.
That's a good point as well.
But of course, if other people will come up with stages on the same quality level, sure. I mean, I would appreciate it with some kind of donation.
Also, it really works. One of the reasons was that this method of bringing new stage was it was the first ever time. So also it really worked like it's first ever time that we have a really good stage. Also, you can test that stage by yourself, and you can decide if that stage is worth for donation or not. So
yeah, it was like quite well done, the donation process.
Yeah, they did really good marketing also with the videos and so on. And also, this was also so cool because the whole community helped to support them, This was also really nice, and it again showed that there is so much energy in this, I would say small RBR community. And once again, the people showed some commitment.
Yep. Again, if you have something to say, you can say. If you want to comment later on the comments, feel free to do so. But I guess it's time for us to move forward from the stages. And next we are going to talk about the races. And same thing, because of the break was so long, 8 months, we cannot go race by race of those championships that we are following. But we are going to look the overall results at this point. There is one championship that is already closed. We can see the overall result. And then there is one championship that is basically closed, but we are still waiting the official results from the final event. And then one championship where the final is just starting. So those are VRC, ELARC and Simrally Masters. And we start with the Virtual Rally Championship. We can quite long sum up the whole season 2022, but we are still waiting the official results from the final Rally Japan, so we cannot really speculate to that. Okay, there's this information from the organizer that Japan results are official, but points yet to be counted. So we don't have the official points, the final points, but the results we have. But as I said, we cannot look the individual races because there is so many that it would go tomorrow morning. So we are going to look the overall points. And now on the Virtual Rally Championship, we are going to look then after the round 11, the rally New Zealand. So how the things were before the final, where we are just still waiting the final points. And let's start with the Rally 1 category. It was Tobias Hult leading the whole system by more than 100 points. So even if we are still waiting the final points, we can say congratulations to Tobias Hult of winning the Rally 1 classification, the main class of the biggest championship in the Richard Burns Rally. So big congratulations, and it was quite a, I would say, dominant season from Tobias, because he was not only fast, but he was not doing mistakes at all. Big mistakes. Tobias finished all the races. If I remember right, he also finished the Rally Japan, and all the time on either really good points or good points. So there was basically no one in the world on this year, on this Rally 1 category, who could have really challenged him what comes to winning this championship. Do you have something to say about Tobias' performance?
I'm actually not surprised of his performance this year, and he's really experienced driver. Yeah, he's worth of this for this title. So congratulations to him.
Yeah. Was there something from Arek?
Yeah, I have to say I'm surprised about his statistics. He started 29 rallies on RSF and he finished 27. So
Yeah.
that's a ratio of above 93%. And usually there are many fast drivers, but I think he is not only fast, but also extremely reliable.
Yeah. That kind of driver will win the championships. It's not only about the speed. And maybe a one little question mark was that, if I'm right, this was his first season with the WRC car, but it showed up that it wasn't a problem at all. Even, I don't know, maybe make him even better when you look at the results. So crazy good season from him. On the second place, before the final race, but I guess also on the points, Jurek Bogdanovic. But there's a good races. There's podiums, wins, but then a lot of retirements. And we know that Jurek didn't, if I remember right, participate on the all races at the end of the season, but also at the beginning of the season. He started with 2 0-point races, so that is the main differences between Tobias and Jurek on this season. Both were able to be really fast and win the rallies, but only Tobias were able to finish all the rallies. Then, before the final rally, there was Jorge Ortiz on the position 3 on the Rally 1 classification and Ville Pynnönen on the position 4. If I'm right, though that changed it, but we need to wait the final points in case the organizer in the chat are not allowed to confirm that how it went. And I guess we will sum up the top 5 of each class. So Piotr Walczak was on the position 5 or at the same spot on the position 4 than Ville after the round 11. Then Rally 2 classification. Pavel Stener, a little bit like Tobias on the first class, finishing all the rallies in the points. There are a few not so good scores, but anyway, really good results and leading before the final round by 55 points or something like that. So I guess he won the championship as well. Tommi Mäkinen on the position 2. There's a lot of good results, but then more retirements as well. So a little bit of same kind of situation than on the Rally 1 category as well. And Artur Brandalak on position 3, and considering the differences on the points, I guess he maintained his position 3 as well. Well, first of all, congratulations to Pavel and of course all the other drivers who did well. Do you have any comments about the Rally 2 classification?
Actually, talking about Tommy, his speed was so impressive that he was even able to compete with WRC drivers. So unfortunately, he has some 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros and
Yes.
some other and 1 4-point round. So yeah, his season was not the best, but yeah, at least he managed to be on the podium.
Yeah, and if I'm right, there was 1 or 2 rally that Tommy didn't participate, but it can be that I remember it wrong. But yeah, there was few crazy runs. I guess it was the round 3, was it the Portugal rally? That was really wet and muddy and slippery, and Tommy was crazy fast in the overall statistics as well. And yeah, there are 3 wins in a row at the end of the season, and really good. The organizer is telling Coffee Willows on the chat that Tommy won nearly all the races he took part in, so that's true. But still, Pavel did a better season when we think as the whole season and won the thing. Then position 4, Ricciardo Gutierrez, and position 5, Antti Erkkilä, before the final race. Remember, before the final race, we are waiting those points. Rally 3, that was the class that was really tight during the whole season, and now we cannot say nothing because the point gaps are so little. But before the final race, Rafał Ruskiewicz was leading. Just behind was Kasper Bros and Joona Karimaa on position 3. Taneli Roivas, position 4, and Aleksi Paakkinen, position 5. So those were the drivers who were quite close to each other, 20 points between all of those 5, and then 40 points or even more before the next driver. So it was really tight, the final between those, and we will hear the official results in our next episode then. But yeah, there is 4-0 rallies from Rafał, and he's still leading. So it seems he really has the speed, and it's interesting to see then after the final rally if he won the whole thing. Then from Kasper, who's on the second, there's a little scores on many rallies, but not total retirements, but not really consistent either. And I have to say the same words for all of the top 5. So there wasn't that kind of Hult or what was the Pavel Steiner who could maintain a really good speed and finish all the rallies. There was more retirements. Is it telling something? Maybe. Maybe the level of competition were so high that these guys really need to push on the limits, and then sometimes you go over the limit. Do you have any points to tell about this Rally 3 classification before the final run?
I took a part at some rallies in this class with Rally 3 cars, so the competition level was really good the whole season, in my opinion. So you had to be so on the limit, and yeah, it's a really good class, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it also on the whole car. It's quite perfect to have a tight races in Rich and Burns Rally, and we actually have the official results. Maybe let's say these are officials because these are now coming straight from the organizer, one of the 3 organizers of this championship. So Rafał Ruskiewicz, he's the champion of Rally 3 classification, and second place Joona Karimaa, third place Taneli Roivas, 4th Aleksi Paakkinen, and 5th Kasper Pross. So Kasper dropped from second place to 5th, which is maybe the biggest surprise now. And then I have to say that also the third place of Taneli Roivas is really nice to see, because for me I didn't know anything about the name of Taneli Roivas before this season. And he started the season with 2 zeros and then climbed up all the way to the podium, so that's really nice to see. And wherever Roivas is racing next year, I think it won't be really easy to beat him, in case this was to see his first season in Richard Burns Rally. So congratulations to Rafał and all the others as well who did well. Rally 4 then, the final class of this championship, and again points before the final rally, but it's quite clear lead. Pavel Kalusha leading by 45 points before the final run, so I guess we can congratulate him as a champion. But then it's a bit more tight. There was still a fight going on for the second place between Damian Skupien and Jyrki Niemelä, only 15 points separating those 2 guys, and then again a more gap to the other places. Okay, there's even more information. At the halfway point of the season, Ruskiewicz, we are now talking back of the Rally 3 classification. So the champion Ruskiewicz had only 29 points when Pross has 80 points. So it was a huge comeback and fight back from Ruskiewicz on the Rally 3 classification. That kind of never give up performance from him. But yeah, Kalusha Pavel, I guess he won the championship, and then I have no idea how it went between Skupien and Niemelä, and then Emilian Viskies Wiskieski was on the position 4 and Tommi Salonen on the position 5 before the final run, and really close to Tommi was Rasmus Alsaranta as well. But we will go through the final results once on the next episode for sure. But there is not a lot of things that are really open, at least what comes to the champions, which are the thing that is most important. But there's also one classification still, the team, and it was interesting one because, as I said, this one was maybe the biggest championship, or it what comes to the amount of participants, amount of drivers. So what will happen on the team also, and at the end it was quite tight. Fisu Rally team, Finnish Sim Racing United Rally team, won points 1097, and position 2, Killas Motorsport, a really traditional Rich and Burns Rally team, points 1004. So there was some, these were I already forgot myself. These were not the official points, because there was still the one round to come. But anyway, Visu has won the championship. Let's forget the points, the amount of points, but let's still stay or keep the results. Visu won and Killas Motorsport on the second place. And yeah, now we have the points also on the chat. There is 1,207 points for Visu and 1,089 points for Killas. So that is the thing. And PZ Motorsport, position 310 with 960 points. So it was actually quite clear that those three teams were fighting on the top positions. And then when you look at the points of the other teams, there is even like half of the points than the PZ Motorsport. But then when you go down the list, the gap between the teams, it's not so big anymore. So there was like 3 big teams and then a lot of other teams that were really close to each other. Flat Out on the position 4 and Sim Control position 5, and that was the top 5 then. What do you think about this one? I don't know if I'm good person to say a lot, because I was one of the Visu drivers half of the season. Of course I like the result, but what do you think?
It's not a surprise. Congratulations.
Okay, it seems that is so dominant performance that Ignace is silent. But yeah.
Yeah, actually, congratulations to Visu guys. They deserve this win, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and congratulations from myself too, because as I said, I only did the half of the season. I was not driving all the races, so congratulations, especially those drivers who really did the big job. And yeah, it was before the season. I remember there was, already talks about Visu vs Killas, and it was tight. It was nice that there was not so that kind of that one team would want this like by 1,000 points or something. So there was competition, and for sure, I guess next year, wherever these two teams will be fighting again, who knows, it will be tight again. And let's hope there will be some of those many teams that are really close together. There's like top 10 at least, quite close gaps. There will be some improvements. It would be nice to see also a big fight what comes to the teams, because it brings like a totally another level and aspect to the racing when you are also thinking about the team points. Sometimes it's a good aspect, sometimes it can give you some pressures even, but it's give a little bit more to the racing. And if you want to try, I really recommend to join some team, or then if you can join, make your own team and start fighting. Okay, that was the Virtual Rally Championship 2022. Then Atlantis Games ELARC, or ELARC, how people like to say it only. But what comes to this championship, we have the results of the whole year. It's already closed, so now everything is official, and Ignas is one of the main organizer of the whole thing, so I guess you can go these through.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to summarize this season. Yeah, it was the first season for us on a Hungarian plugin, and we are really happy that we joined to this plugin. We had a lot of new stages. We had a good competition in 5 different categories plus teams category. Yeah, I'm really happy that we managed to organize this series in the 4th season in a row. So big thanks to everyone who took a part in this championship, and also I would like to say a big thanks to our supporters of this championship, Atlantis Games, Black and Round, Sim Academy, Lithuanian Automobile Sports Federation, and RBR LT community. So yeah, as I mentioned before, we had 5 different driver categories. This year we decided to update a category system according only to cars, not only of driver experience. So yeah, the first category was for those drivers who drove the penultimate evolution of WRC cars. So yeah, maybe it wasn't the most competitive class, but Joonas Lönn managed to win the championship after the final round. So congratulations to him.
Thank you, and also thanks to my team and all the drivers who were driving well on the final rally, because those helped me to gain the point, or to make the gap to the driver who came second. So it was really tight, and I needed, like, it was only my performance that was affecting. It was the performance of many drivers on the final race.
Yeah, so actually the guy who finished in second place, Gabriel Simpson from Estonia, also deserves a really good award. He managed to finish all the races, so congratulations to him also. And on the third place, the difference between Joonas and Gabriel was only 4 points at the end of season. And yeah, and on the third position, Damian Skupian from Poland. He hadn't have a good season. He finished season with 77 points. So yeah. Then the second classification for Rally 2 cars. And we have the same guy from Sweden, Tobias Hult, who won the championship. Also, he showed amazing performance. He wasn't the fastest guy in all events. He managed to win two first rallies, even even among the all drivers, including WRC drivers. So yeah, congratulations to him also. He finished championship with 168 points. The second place went to Pavel Stener from Kilos Motorsport. He had a good season, but Tobias was faster in every rally, I think. No, on the third round he was faster, and Pavel had a crash on the last event. So yeah, but anyway, he managed to finish in second position. So also a really good result for him, I think. And the third place went to Tommy Mäkinen from Finland. Unfortunately, he started the season in a not good way. He had two crashes at the first two events of the season, but later he managed to win the class in the third round, and later also he was the fastest the fastest guy on the last two rallies in Rally Elektreni and Rally Utena, and he finished the season with 115 points. So yeah,
I say something at this point. It's another time crazy to see the performance from Tobias Hult, because he's like a robot. There is again no mistakes, and all the time finishing either winning the races or on the podium or really good. So that's
the biggest mistake from him in this season was in the third round. I think he hit spectator or had a crash. I can't remember now exactly, but
yeah.
it was only the big mistake from him
Yeah,
during
but
the whole season.
on this championship we had that one drop race, so basically he did a really good championship still, because on one race you were like all of it to do a mistake, and yeah, two of the biggest championship he won the both. And when I look the list of the drivers, I think that the name list and the level of the drivers was highest on this one, because there is Hult, Steiner, Mäkinen, Bogdanovic on the top 4. So, but anyway, it was the highest or second highest of this championship, and Tobias won again. So it's crazy, and it's interesting to see, in case he continues racing in Rich and Burns Rally, that will this continue like this, or at some point will there be some happening, some crash or some race where he would lost his confidence a little bit. Is that even possible, or is this always like that? It's interesting to see. Or is there some other drivers like him that can finish really good without mistakes? Will that kind of situation push him to do mistakes? Or will this just always be like this, that he keeps on winning? It's interesting to see.
And yeah, and also I remember that he's usually doing rallies during that gap between the start and finish. He's not doing rallies, let's see, on the final day, but he is doing like on the first part of that.
Yeah, it's also one sign that is telling that the confidence must be quite high.
Yeah.
He can go first one on the road, do his own things, fast times without mistakes, and then let the other drivers try and crash out.
Yeah.
And yeah, one thing I also want to say on the first category, that congratulations to Gabriel as well. He did a really good season, so close to winning the whole thing, only 4 points, so it was a good season from him for sure.
Yeah, so talking about the third classification, so we had their classical Mitsubishis, Lancers, Subaru's Impreza, and also Rally 3 cars. So the champion, the Lithuanian champion, became from Finland, and he is Jani Lahtinen, our really known guy in RBR community. So he showed really good pace in the whole during the whole season. He won 5 events out of 6 in this category. So before the last round, he should only to start on the first stage, and he already secured his title. So it really shows that he deserved this title. Then the second place went to another Finn, Joonas Hamalainen, 137 points. The gap is 38 points. Yeah. Also, he kind of surprised me. I have never heard his name before, so he showed some really good pace during on some rallies. So yeah. And on the third place, we have a Lithuanian guy, young guy who is doing rallying in real life. So he's using Christian Burns Rally as a practice platform, and also he achieved this this result with Rally 3 car, which is less powerful than Mitsubishi and Subaru's. So he finished in the third place, and he finished with 72.5 points.
Yeah, I have to say that the name of Joonas Hämäläinen, for me also, I have never heard him before of this season, and then he just came here and are able to do a full season with good speed without crashes. So it's a little bit like Taneli Roivas was on the VRC. New guy just somewhere comes here and do that kind of season. So it's interesting. It's really good already, and it's interesting to see what will happen on the next year in case these guys will be competing in next year and well, and really dominant performance for Janne, of course. Not only winning all the races, but you know all the power stages as well on the first 5 rounds. So there was like no one who could have stopped him.
Yeah.
It's even more clear win that Tobias has on the other category or on the, or not maybe on the VRs, or maybe yes. Tobias didn't win all the races, but Janne did except the final one.
Yeah, so going to the fourth classification, ILARG 4.
Hey, you was on the 4th place as well. Let's mention that. Because you are part of our podcast team. What do you think about your season?
Well,
You did 2 categories, if I remember right.
yeah. I started with WRC car, so I crashed on the first. No, I crashed on the 8th stage or something like this. It was a really stupid mistake on the jump. I can't remember the stage now well, but name of stage. So yeah. Then I decided to go with Evo 10, and the first 2 rallies went really bad. I had 2 crashes, and on the third round I crashed on the first stage. The stage was really known for me. I haven't practiced before the going to the tournament, so, and I crashed. So I was really mad on myself, to be honest. But I managed to finish the most difficult rally Rokiškis. Also, then I managed to finish Rally Elektrėnai quite well, and but also I had a crash on Rally Elektrėnai. So yeah, but anyway, I finished. And yeah, and for the last round, I decided just to have a fun and drive with Rally 4 car. So yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Lot of happenings on your season.
Yeah, it wasn't the best season, but at least I really had fun with Evo 10. I had a good feeling with this car, but well, I was over pushing my limits.
And there is not so many championships where you can drive, where you have a good class for those Mitsubishi Evo and Subaru Impreza. So on
In a real
E-Lark we have.
series, we have a really good class for these cars. So
Yeah.
yeah. So going back to the standings, we go to the E-Lark 4 class. Mainly, it's a category for Rally 4 cars. So the total dominance came from Finland, from Aleksi Pakinen. He won every single round, every single power stage, and he deserved his title more than, I don't know.
No one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
We should
achieved.
say that Janne was, dominant, even better than Tobias, but then Aleksi was even better than Janne. Perfect. You cannot be better than this one.
Yeah, he reached the maximum amount of points which you are able to achieve.
Yeah.
So yeah. Then the second place went to Lithuanian guy Edvinas Meškauskas, 121.5 points. Yeah, what can I say about him? He's a new guy in Rich and Burns Rally. It was a first season for him, and he really managed to do whole season in a good way. He finished all rallies, and yeah, he showed quite a good pace, to be honest. Then the third place went to another Lithuanian, Robertas Kuliukauskas, really experienced RBR driver. He finished rally championship with 77.5 points. So yeah, what can I say about this category is it was kind of fun to follow this category also because, well, usually on any on on any championship, I think that the cars which are all-wheel driven, I think they are more popular than, let's say, front-wheel driven cars.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then going back to also standings, we have the last classification, E-Lark 5, and it was a class, a special class to be honest. It was a class for BMW cars only. Two cars were allowed to use, E30 and E36. So it was a kind of impressive fight because before the last rally, the championship was still unknown, and 3 or 4 guys had chances to become a champion of this class. So, but yeah, but the biggest congratulations goes to Alexander Arich from Ukraine. He finished the season with 152 points. The second place went to Fregis, 130 points. The third place went to Jason Murphy from USA. He scored 123.5 points. Yeah. It was the least competitive class what comes to the amount of drivers, but well, at least what the situation was before the last round, I think this class was also enjoyable to follow.
Yeah, and the fight was tight.
Yeah,
at least on the podium level, even if there was not so many competitors. It was the second or third category where was most drivers, am I right?
I think the most popular category was the first one.
Yeah.
Somehow many Lithuanian and Latvian drivers are prefer use old Mitsubishis and Subarus rather than the modern R5s. So yeah.
Maybe as you said, it's quite popular class in real life there. So maybe that's a reason for that. And also there was on the third category, there was like basically two categories inside of one. There were only the people, or also the people who like the Rally 3 car, that little modernized car, and then also the people who like the big old powerful car. So those were like together on the same class. So maybe it's explaining also a little bit why there was most of the drivers on this category.
Yeah, and also let's not forget the championship team standings. So well, Fischer Rally team managed to win another title, this time in Lithuanian Championship, with 489 points. Yeah. The second place, the same as in VRC, Kilos Motorsport from Poland, 314 points. And the last place went to Lithuanian team. The whole guys of this team were newcomers of RBR, so for them it was the first season.
Well, that's
with
quite
reaching Verdant
impressive.
Rally, yeah, and then they showed a really good result. Seems spotted on actually, it's a team from my hometown. So yeah, and yeah, they scored 245 points.
Yeah, and on this championship it wasn't so tight for the win than it was on the VRC. But anyway, same two big teams there fighting for the win, and then that's really impressive. What you say told about the sim spot, Utena. Really impressive. And we also got the Joonas Hämäläinen, who got the second place on the third category, if I remember right, in the chat. And he really says that it was his first year in Richard Burns Rally, so impressive stuff that as well. And impressive stuff was the level of organization of this championship. We had the special episode of this championship, the episode 2. There's actually mistake on the overlay of this podcast. This is actually episode 3, but anyway, the episode 2 was the ELARC special, where you can listen a lot of background of this championship. But already back then I was really telling how high level stuff this is, and after the season I must say the same thing. And even we got the trophies. I was winning the class 1 and the team, so I got the trophies. So that is something that is not really often happening in Richard Burns Rally. But now with ELARC, like, we have all the good things, the level of organization, the web page and everything. And then plus of that, you even get the trophies, really nice personal trophies, that kind of wooden one, blue trophies. So are really well packed as well. I mean, no matter what bomb would have happened on the on their way to the Finland, they would have come here as a one piece. So everything really well organized. And if the new stage that we talked about earlier was a new benchmark and a level of stage making, I still keep saying that this championship is the level and benchmark how to make high quality professional championships in Richard Burns Rally. I'm really happy that we have this kind of season on this year as well. On the other hand, what I was thinking, that there was these quite dominant wins in many classes, that what would have happened if there would have been less classes and more drivers in the same class. It was a bit sad for me that there was so many classes. I totally understand the point because the classes are straight from the real life. There is no issues for that. But still I keep thinking that the overall level of competition with all of the classes would have been a bit higher in case there would have been a bit less classes. But it's like the only, it's not even a negative thing, it's just that kind of, I don't know what kind of thing it is, but that is like the only thing that I'm a little bit thinking after the season. But otherwise it was again so well organized, and also there's same kind of messages from the chat from Joonas Hämäläinen and the last Crusader as well. Top notch organizing job here. So, and
Thank you.
Ignas has been the main guy here, so a big thanks for you.
Thank you.
Also, big thanks from my side. There are many people in the community who are telling how much they like the organization. So you can be very proud about it.
Actually, what I wanted to say more about that, I'm really happy that we are able to see more and more championships organized by official motorsport federations in their countries. So we were the first country which brought official championship to Richmond Rally. Then Czech Republic, Ukraine also has championships under their federation flags. And now this year we had Finnish championship, Finnish series.
Yep.
And also next year we are about to have Estonian series also. So yeah.
Do you know if the Estonian series is it open to everyone? Like, is it national or international?
I think it will be national, but I'm not sure
Okay.
why. So yeah.
It would be nice to have this kind of international championships as well that are really official, because if I remember right, the ELARC was the only one on this year. There has those national ones on few of the countries, but that kind of international, I would like to see this kind of things as well. Okay, that's it. We have gone through, oh no, that's not it. We have the Sim Rally Masters, of course, and that's the final thing before we are done. It has been the with old cars, a little bit old rallies, longer rallies, a bit different one than those two previous championships, and the final round is still to come. It's starting really soon, so we will quickly look at the standings before the final round. What are the standings now? And what are the... I don't know the word. I lost my words when I'm clicking out the results. The situation before we go to the final. And now I actually misclicked myself away. But luckily this is soon over and I can get some rest to myself. Big issues. Now I found it. So let's go it again class by class. There's different kind of classes on these championships. 5 different kind of class if you didn't know already. And there's 6 rounds done and 1 is still to come. And let's go. There's overall champions as well, really interesting one. Let's go through that one at last, but let's start with the tourist class. And before the final run, it's quite interesting. there's Mikko Antonen from Finland leading with equal amount of points that Riku Putkinen from Finland as well. Both of those two drivers has 28 points. And then on the third place there's Jeremy Bramble with 22 points. So, and he's from Australia, so he's also fighting still even for the win, maybe. So it's interesting stuff. And how this has came, Mikko has had a lot more retirements and 0-point races, while Riku has scored points more, but not winning so often. So there's again a little bit like two different kind of drivers fighting for the win of the tourist class. Then Group 4. Janne Laahanen leading with 40 points, and Joonas Lönn on the second with 30 points, but I have heard some rumors that Joonas is not driven all the races on this class, so basically Rasmus Ansaranta is there, if I remember right, who have driven or at least started maybe all of the races, but he's already behind of Janne a lot, 18 points with Rasmus and 40 to Janne, so let's see. There is 10 points gap between Joonas and Janne, how this will end. Joonas will have a little bit better car on the final event than Janne have, but still gaining 10 points will be really difficult. So looking really good for Janne of this championship. Front wheel drive pro, the third class of this championship, and again it's quite tight. And it's interesting that it's tight because the championship is actually quite difficult, but still it ended up to be really tight in many classes, which is nice to see. There is Andre Lourenço leading with 31 points. He is from Portugal. On the second place, RBR veteran Henri Rampanen with 28 points from Finland. And again, equal amount of points than Henri. There is Marko Vastamäki from Finland as well. So really, really tight. There is 3 drivers separated by 3 points fighting for the championship when we go to the final round. Everything is totally open with the 3 first positions. Then Pro A, Group A cars. There is Aleksi Paakkinen, the dominant guy from Elark Group 4, leading, but not so dominant this time. Aleksi has 24 points. Tommi Mäkinen, position 2, 22 points. And again, equal amount of points. Roy Magnes from Norway on the position basically 2 or 3, no matter how you want to put it. So again, a class where the fight is really tight. Everything totally open what comes to winning to the championship and the podium positions. So there is so much to follow on the final race. And then category Pro B. And even if there has been quite big gaps on the races when we have seen the individual races, what's the results, it's still quite tight what comes to the championship fighting, because now I have difficulties to say the name, but Kranauer Gyöse from Hungary, he is leading with 38 points. On the second place from Finland, Henri Suutarinen, 34 points. So there is 4 points gap between the first and second. And on the third place, Krister Parys from Finland with 30 points. And well, let's pick up also the Joona Karimaa on the fourth place from Finland also, because he's only 1 point behind of the third place. So quite tight fight again on this class. Not so tight than on the other, but still everything is open. But then, for me, the most interesting one, the overall category, because of the nature of this championship, because the races are so long and that makes them quite difficult, it's also possible that you can fight the overall championship no matter, or well, maybe not if you are on the tourist car class, but with different kind of cars you are able to fight with the overall win as well, and that is making this interesting. The leader, Joonas Lönn, 107 points. At the second place, Janne Laahanen, 92 points. And third place, Aleksi Paakkinen, 85 points. So it's not over yet, but in case Joonas will be finishing the rally, it will be looking really good. But we have to remember what is the nature of these rallies. Really long, really difficult because of the length, and the final event actually is not the shortest one at all. So everything is still open what comes to the winning of the overall between Joonas, Janne and Aleksi. And now I guess we are done. And yeah, starting on Wednesday, the final event, and if I remember right, we have now 2 weeks of time to do the event, which is twice as much than on all the previous ones. So after 2 weeks we know how it went on the overall and all the classes as well. Hey, Mr. Arek also won one event, the rally number 5. So congratulations to you for that, if you are still wake up. I think he's not. But anyway, one of us won the 5th event.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
My microphone was turned off, sorry. I just figured out that I'm on P7 in the overalls, even though I participated in 2 events only.
Yeah, you did quite well on those 2 events.
I was a bit ashamed that I did not participate in all the other rounds. It's an amazing championship format, but of course it requires some kind of preparation.
Yeah, but if we think that you would have performed as well on all the rallies that you did on those 2, you would have been fighting for the top for sure.
Next year.
Next year it will be interesting because yeah, it was the last year of this championships went really well. So I think that this year was a lot better now and good promotion also for the championship. So I guess on the next year there is more drivers. So it's interesting to see also what happens then. But before that we need to see who will win this year, and after 2 weeks we will know that. Do you have anything other things to comment about these results? I went it quite fast, but you can say if there was something you want to talk about still. It seems no. And there was actually Tom commenting that, oh damn, you are still going, but I have to say this is now 3.5 hours, so we are like 2 hours earlier than the normal length of the Finnish episode we have had, so it's just a normal for this one that these are quite long. But I'm happy that everyone wake up, I guess, and it was not optimal for sure that we have that kind of long break. We have to go through a huge amount of different kind of things. We have to skip a lot of things, but no can do. It was the situation and we cannot change it anymore. But of course we would like to do this more often, and let's check if we can actually do it next year. But for sure, what comes to this year, this was the final English Bridge & Burns Rally podcast episode, and we see you then on the next year. Thank you for Arek and Ignas for being here and finding the time. We finally find some time we can do this. And thank you for this whole year, even if it was quite short for us. But thank you of the podcast year of 2022, and well, we see and hear you both hopefully on the next year a bit more often.
Sure. Thank you to Joonas for all the preparation. I also want to say one more time, big thank you to all the people and all the contributors within the RBR community. It's quite impressive if we sum up what happened in the recent months and the whole year. It's really, really good time for RBR, even though the sim is already 18 years old. And this is all because of so many passionate people. So big thanks to all the work. And let's see what will happen in the next year.
Yeah, so actually, Arek did a good summer conclusion of this year, but yeah, what I wanted to say is big thanks for everyone who is a part of this amazing community. And yeah, let's see what the next year will bring to us. I think that we will have more and more. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and we will listen our intro and hear you next time in 2023. Good night and bye bye.
Have a good Christmas. Bye.
Bye.
Richard Burns Valve Podcast. In English! Easygoing RBR talk with honest opinions. Topical races, topics and quests. Welcome.